Chapter 887. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan went to Peach Blossom Court, while Zhang Wang went to Peach Blossom Court. It was unknown who had a loose mouth, but not long after Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan returned to Savant's restaurant, the news spread like wildfire. Even Xiaobei knew about it. She brought a large group to find her brother and sister, looking like she was very angry that they didn't bring her along. Wang Wan couldn't care less about the smell of wine on her face from Zhang Xiaobao's forceful kisses along the way. After settling her brother and sister, she sat beside Zhang Xiaobao, who was leaning against the head of the bed. She glanced at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "Are you doing this on purpose? Are you trying to ruin my reputation?" Communication is not developed yet, but the news spread so quickly. If it were us back then, I reckon the other side of the world would know. You can't speak carelessly. How am I ruining your reputation? You're ruining my reputation if you go alone. If we go together, that's romantic. How many men have you seen bringing their wives or future wives to a brothel? Zhang Xiaobao naturally reached out and hugged Wang Wan. Like a little boy who was in love for the first time, he wanted to stick together whenever he had time. Who asked him to lack experience in this aspect? Go, if Xiaobei and the others come in and see it, they'll learn. I think Xiao Yuan always wants to hug Xiaobei when he sleeps. Don't talk nonsense. Is Peach Blossom Court a brothel? Is it just a simple brothel? It's cleaner than the entertainment circle of our time, and the girls are more capable. Are you really not going to talk to the Imperial clan? Are you going to be stubborn to the end? Wang Wan pulled a giant panda pillow between the two of them and said faintly. Zhang Xiaobao flipped over and pressed himself against the wall. He felt around under the pillow beside him, as if he was looking for something. What does a child know? Don't look at a child with the mindset of an adult. There's no need to care about the Imperial clan. Let them make a ruckus while it's still early. Once they've made a ruckus, they'll be well behaved. Just like a volcano, an erupting volcano isn't that dangerous. What's worse is that it keeps accumulating strength. Now that you mention it, I suddenly thought of something. If the two of us go to Peach Blossom Court to compensate, then Peach Blossom Court's reputation will definitely soar. We should give them a heads up before we go. That way, we will have some sort of celebrity effect. As for what others say, it's up to them to say. Am I not allowed to get close to my wife and have some fun? Maybe tomorrow I'll bring you to a mountain and sing a love song on the other side. Who cares? Don't you agree? Preposterous reasoning. Based on what you've said, we're all public figures and have to be careful, especially when it comes to moral character. Don't let others find fault with us, especially when it comes to someone like you, who has always been acknowledged by the great Tang as a very formidable merchant. Everyone knows that you have excellent moral character, and if something happens to you, it will affect the beliefs of others. What are you looking for? Wang Wan held down Zhang Xiaobao's hand. I'm looking for your comic. Didn't you say you had pictures? Let me take a look as well. I've never intended to be someone's idol. Besides, what I do has nothing to do with moral character. Don't always say that merchants are bad. Merchants are still worried that the consumers won't approve of them and they won't be able to sell their goods. They have to explain themselves when they encounter problems. If a merchant doesn't respect moral character, then it's all fake. People like me don't even bother to fake. But if an official's moral character is bad, then he'll lie with his eyes wide open. He knows that the people know what he's doing, but he won't admit it. What can you do? You've harmed several generations of people. Where did you put it? Did you match it with color? Is it an abstract drawing or a portrait? Zhang Xiaobao searched for a long time, but to no avail. He stopped and took Wang Wan's hand. Wang Wan helplessly glanced at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "There's no drawing." My mother told me, and the maidservants in the inner courtyard also mentioned it occasionally. Haven't you realized that you've been thinking about this recently? As a man, you have to put your career first. Li Longji said in the morning court that he would hold an imperial examination for you. I also plan to participate, but there's only one top scorer. What should I do? Wang Wan originally planned to go back to Jili province with Zhang Xiaobao to see how the new crops were growing. Even if it was the imperial examination, they could still hurry back. But now that the imperial clan was causing trouble, they naturally couldn't go back. Wouldn't it be showing weakness if they went back? Thinking of the imperial examination in autumn, she also wanted to participate. She didn't know what Li Longji would do. It could be considered as giving Li Longji a difficult problem. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care and said, I'll give you the top scorer. I'm a bit worse than you. Indeed, I'm a bit worse than you, especially in the literary field. Why don't I take the military examination? You're in the literary field, I'm in the martial field. People these days are all stupid and easy to bully. Come closer, let me think in that direction. If you agree, won't I stop thinking about it? What's the difference if you insist on waiting for the engagement? The difference is big. The easier it is to get something, the less you know how to cherish it. People these days aren't stupid, but they lack experience. Their learning ability is still very strong. Look at so many craftsmen. I can't even participate in the experiments they are doing now. Look at the people in finance. As long as you give them a little opportunity to learn, they will immediately learn and draw inferences. It's just that this is the era of imperial power, and the policies aren't so loose. There's still you to suppress them. Otherwise, look at the merchants of the great Tang. I guarantee that they will show you what an economic crisis is. Go, don't squeeze me. It's so hot. Instead of discussing with me, why don't you urge the people from the Ministry of Rights to hurry up? Wang Wan said no, but her body didn't move. She let Zhang Xiaobao hug her. The corners of her mouth curled up as she enjoyed this moment of tenderness. Zhang Xiaobao gritted his teeth. Okay, I understand. The easier it is, the less you know how to cherish it. I can't let Xinhua and Japan have it so easy. I have to grind them down. If they don't pay a certain price, I'm not in a hurry to let them suffer a big loss. You're using others as a punching bag again. What kind of person are you? Let's go and eat. Next time, drink less wine. You're likely by. Wang Wan broke free and stood by the bed, waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to come down and eat together. Li Bai has already controlled his drinking, okay? He still wants to see me, but I didn't. The easier it is for me to drag him along, the less he knows how to cherish it. I remember now. Li Sun, that old man who has never married, must have been in contact with many women. He has a lot of information. I'll send him a telegram and ask him for a picture. I'll eat something light today. I've been very angry recently. Zhang Xiaobao rearranged the messy pillow and got off the bed. He spoke as he walked. You want the world to know that you're prepared before you do that with me, right? Why don't I find you a beautiful maid in the inner courtyard so you can try it first? She can help you cool down so you don't get sick again. No, I'm not angry anymore. I'll go to Yang Zhongchang's house tonight and bring some ginseng or something. The Ministry of Rights has been busy recently, so he needs to take care of himself. Under Zhang Xiaobao's urging, the Ministry of Rights quickly started to work. They followed the civil etiquette but were guided by the imperial court. First was the acceptance ceremony, which was to propose marriage. Originally, the Zhang family was going to find a matchmaker themselves, but now they didn't need to. They found a matchmaker in his name and went to Wang Wan's house. At first, they wanted to find a famous matchmaker in the capital, but this matter was taken over by Empress Wang. Empress Wang led her team out of the palace and went all the way to Wang Wan's house to act as a matchmaker. Not to mention that the Zhang family and Wang Wan had long recognized that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were a couple. Even if they didn't know each other before, they didn't dare to object now. The members of the imperial family who were still making trouble also stopped their actions for a while. Among them, Shui Yun and Hong Wan also helped. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan always thought that Shui Yun, who was psychic, was going to have a baby, so they had to establish a good relationship first so that the baby wouldn't be hurt when it fell from the sky in the future. Shui Yun and her husband helped catch a pair of live geese, but they didn't use birds and geese to replace the geese that others couldn't catch. After this trip, the whole capital was in an uproar. Some were envious, some were congratulating, and some were criticizing. Most of them were from the imperial family, and the news quickly spread through Great Tang through telegrams. According to the information Li Longji received, all of Lu Zhou's businesses were closed for a day. For this celebration, 50,000 people gathered on the banks of the Yangtze River in Shuzhou and knelt down. The merchants of Jianan Circuit joined forces and held banquets for the people in different places. Needless to say, in Jili province, every family set off firecrackers. In short, as long as it was a place related to the Zhang family and the Wang family, all kinds of ceremonies were held. In Sanshui County, everyone wore new clothes and hung lanterns in every house. In the end, it developed to the point where everyone deposited a copper coin in the Great Tang Bank as a wedding gift for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. When the time came, the money would be transferred to their accounts together. Merchants from all over the country took action one after another, offering discounts and lowering prices. Up and down the Yellow River, north and south of the Great River, there was nothing they couldn't do. Li Longji purposely gathered the members of the imperial clan who had come over to complain and cause trouble behind the scenes. He directly threw the intelligence report in front of them for them to see and feel the extent of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's influence. The members of the imperial family were indignant. They tried to stir up trouble in front of Li Longji, saying that the Zhang family and the Wang family were rebelling. When they saw Li Longji not responding, they could only endure it and wait for another opportunity. Just a single coin was enough to shake the entire Great Tang. Everyone was looking forward to the day of the wedding. After the coin ceremony, it was time to ask for the names and the dates of birth. This was simple. Not to mention that two people were born in the same year, same month, and same day, there was not much difference in the time. Even if there was a problem, they had to find a way to get rid of it. After two more procedures, it was time to receive the coin ceremony that Zhang Xiaobao was looking forward to. After this, it was considered an engagement. He could count the stars with Wang Wan. As for the time and date of the wedding, it would take a few years. He was not in a hurry to get married. The coin ceremony was for the betrothal gift. This was troublesome. Many people gathered in the capital to see what kind of gift the Zhang family would give to the Wang family. Zhang Xiaobao began to worry before he gave the betrothal gift. He did not want to eat or drink. Wang Wan came to persuade him personally. Xiaobao, eat more. Don't lose weight. When you count the stars and don't have the strength, don't blame me for kicking you out of bed. Wang Wan deliberately said sweet nothings between the two of them to make Zhang Xiaobao eat more. I'll eat. What do you think I should give you? I have to put on a show. I can't let you suffer. But I want to put on a show for a while. I just found that the canal is so narrow and the road in Chang'an is not wide enough. If I had known, I would have spent more money to fix it. I can pay for it myself. Zhang Xiaobao frowned and stared at the bowl. In order to let Zhang Xiaobao eat more, Wang Wan cooked the boiled fish. The spicy smell was appetizing, but Zhang Xiaobao still had no appetite. What do you want to give to my family? Tell me and I'll give you some advice, so you don't have to worry about it. In fact, I don't need much. You can just give me yours. As long as my Xiaobao stands there, you can equal half the country. To be able to share your pride is the happiest thing for me. Wang Wan had become much gentler during this period of time. At night, she would even cooperate with Zhang Xiaobao to kiss and touch him. She didn't know if every woman would be like this at this time. Her mind was filled with thoughts of the other party all day long. Excitement, anticipation, and a little fear. Zhang Xiaobao took a deep breath and lowered his head to eat. After a few mouthfuls, he stopped and looked up at Wang Wan and said, I want to give you 1,000 sails, 1,000 years of beauty, 3,000 medical books, no cold in spring, 10,000 snow lotuses, no heat in summer, a garden of hundreds of millions of grass, a dancing autumn skirt, a mountain and a province, and a winter snow. Chapter 888. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, Wang Wan, who had just served him food, suddenly lowered her head and didn't say anything. Is it too little? Zhang Xiaobao put down his chopsticks and asked. Wang Wan still didn't look up, but Wei Wei swayed her hair. Wash it a few more times tonight. Wash what? Wash your stinky body. Ah. That won't do. After I deliver the things, it's fine if the canal is narrow. I'll adjust it. The streets of Chang'an are not wide enough. I'll ask them not to go out first and walk around the house. I'll definitely solve this problem. After the engagement, I'll... Hey, where are you going? I'm going to find a doctor. You're seriously ill. In the eyes of others, the Zhang family and the Wang family should be the most straightforward step. They were rich, so they could just throw out a pile of paper money with 10,000 written on it. It was enough to show off their extravagance. Who would have thought that the simplest step would cause problems for Zhang Xiaobao? It dragged on for half a month. He took Xiaobei and the others almost every day, leaving Wang Wan at home and going to the palace to cook for Li Longji. Many people secretly inquired about what the Zhang family, or to be precise, Zhang Xiaobao, was doing. For a while, the members of the imperial clan, who had calmed down, began to be restless again. They thought that Zhang Xiaobao didn't dare to accept the engagement easily because of their pressure, so they secretly colluded and planned to wait for the engagement to cause trouble for the Zhang family and the Wang family. They understood that the emperor was not willing to deal with the Zhang family and the Wang family for them. Similarly, he wouldn't do anything to them because of the Zhang family and the Wang family. He wanted to keep the well water in the river water and not help either side. Just like this, a month had passed. Some of the crops brought back from America had already borne seeds. The members of the imperial clan didn't wait for Na Jing to make trouble. Instead, they first waited for some seeds to be sent to the capital by Shui Yun and Hong Wan. They didn't get a share of the seeds. That day, no one who participated in the complaint was given a single seed. Along with the seeds, there was also a kind of hat. To be precise, it was a scarf. After all, the hair was long and it was inconvenient to wear a hat. It looked like a hoop with a hole in the front. A very small electric fan was installed inside the hoop. It was equipped with 4 batteries and could run for 6 to 10 hours. In the middle of summer, if one wore it on their head and blew on it, they would at least enjoy it more than others, regardless of whether it was cool or not. This was a symbol of status. Similarly, no one from the imperial clan filed a complaint. The other officials in the capital who were 5th rank and above each had their names engraved on them, showing how important they were to the Zhang family and the Wang family. The adults could still bear it and acted as if nothing had happened. However, 2 days later, another toy for the children appeared. This wasn't surprising. Usually, people would use soap water and small circles to blow bubbles. However, the difference was that this bubble-blowing toy didn't need a person to blow it. It was like a pistol and had a fan behind it. When the trigger was pressed, bubbles would fly out one after another, displaying gorgeous colors under the sun. The children of the imperial clan who had filed a complaint watched the other children play with one in each hand. They either fought over it or asked for it. This caused countless disputes. Even if they managed to snatch it and could play with it, it wasn't given by the Zhang family and the Wang family. This made the adults lose face and feel uncomfortable. At this time, they realized that they were used to using the free things given by the Zhang family and the Wang family. They didn't think much of it, but now that they were angry and didn't give it to them, they lost more than just the things. It was said that after a period of time, the chili peppers from Jili Prefecture with the seeds removed would also arrive in the capital. At that time, they naturally wouldn't be sold. The quantity was still small, so they would definitely be distributed to the various officials. They invited each other to go out to play, eat, and have a barbecue. How elegant would the person who had chili sprinkle it lightly on the barbecued food. Li Shi, I just realized that the things given by the Xiao Bao and Cuckoo families represent their status. No wonder they sell so well. Once you're used to using them in the same circle, you'll feel embarrassed if you don't have anything new. Don't you think so? In the hibiscus garden, Li Longji sat at the table and tasted the spicy diced chicken that Zhang Xiaobao had just made. He was talking to Gao Lixi, who was serving beside him. Gao Lixi's mouth was also not idle. If it wasn't for the fact that there was no Qingyuan garden in the hibiscus garden, he was afraid that there would occasionally be officials with high status coming to see the emperor. If it was in the past, he would definitely have a Qingyuan garden. Now, the weapons used by the people he protected were different, so this step was skipped. He listened to the emperor's words and ate the jianbing fruit that his godson had prepared for him. He also put a lot of chili peppers in it. He slurped the chili peppers and nodded vigorously until he swallowed the food in his mouth. He then replied, "Just as your majesty said, after a while, the other crops will also be ready. This official also plans to hold a banquet for them to taste. By next year, there will be more people who can eat it. The production will be higher than rice and noodles. You have a good son, so you naturally don't have to worry. Xiao Bao, rest a bit. That's enough. I promised you to send an army into the city. I also want to see how powerful the army you sent to Cuckoo is. You spent your own money to encircle the lake, and I'll send you the mountain as a gift. I'm looking forward to it. I've never heard of a family giving away such things during an election. I can't imagine what kind of scene it will be. Cuckoo didn't marry the wrong man. I reckon that you didn't have enough time to prepare. Otherwise, wouldn't you have moved the mountain and lake here?" Li Longji also liked the spicy food, but he didn't dare to drink water. He was afraid that his stomach would be full and he wouldn't be able to eat anything else. He wiped his snot from the spicy food and said to Zhang Xiaobao, who was still flipping through the big ladle. "All right, that's enough. The last dish, green beans with corn." Zhang Xiaobao hooked the corns and replied when he was about to take the pot out of the pot. The reason why he had been cooking for Li Longji for so many days was because he wanted to bring the things he prepared for Wang Wan to the capital. Everything else was fine. No one would object if he used the money and the silk, but there were still a few steps that required Li Longji's approval. For example, bringing the army under Wang Wan's command into the capital, or borrowing the city walls of the capital. He wanted to give the best to Wang Wan. Other than spending a lot of money, he also had to put in a lot of effort. At the same time, it would also cause a disturbance to the people. Even so, he felt that it was worth it. After the last dish was brought to the table, Zhang Xiaobao also took a jianbing fruit for himself and sat down to eat. Li Longji scooped up the fruit with a spoon and tasted it. He nodded and said, "It's delicious." "Xiaobao, you said that some people can taste it, while others can't. It's fine if they're of low status, but if they're of high status, they're always coming to complain to me. It's hard for me to do anything. Shouldn't I give them what they deserve?" Chapter 889. On this day in the middle of summer, the sky was high and the clouds were light. The streets of the capital city of Chang were livelier than usual. The merchants who came to the capital had finished their business but did not leave. They deliberately stayed for a while just to see the scene today. What kind of gift would the Zhang clan give to the Wang clan during the recruitment had become the most anticipated thing for those who received the news. They really wanted to know how much the Zhang clan, whose wealth rivaled that of a nation, could give. Zhang Xiaobao had been preparing for a period of time recently. Plus, the stall that he had set up in the past was now in operation. Today, he did not look for Li Longji to cook for him. He had already reached an agreement with Li Longji. Today, he could use any place he wanted, including the city walls of Chang'an. In the palace, Li Longji was dressing up. To be precise, he was putting on makeup. He also wanted to see what kind of scene Zhang Xiaobao could create. After eating for more than a month, he only knew that Zhang Xiaobao wanted to transfer troops to the capital from Tubo. Along the way, he had already received news that a large number of troops under the banner of the Zhang family had moved out a month ago. They quickly rode to the capital and were stationed outside the capital city 6 days ago. Originally, the 10,000 cavalry battalion also wanted to go and take a look, but they were stopped by Li Longji. Only the Jinwu guards, who were responsible for protecting the palace, were prepared and looked very worried. As for Zhang Xiaobao's unwillingness to give anything to the members of the imperial clan who complained, Li Longji did not force him. Some of the members of the imperial clan were still unwilling to give up. This was a good opportunity for them to see how strong Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's foundation was. This would make them more obedient and not look for trouble. Under everyone's expectations, when Wang Wan returned to her home and waited, Zhang Xiaobao finally began to move. At 5 in the morning, the Qixia gate of the capital was guarded by the Zhang family. No one in the city was allowed to pass through this gate. Some distance away, the big wild goose tower was full of people. Each of them was of noble status and held binoculars in their hands. They just happened to be looking at the road through the Qixia gate. As the sound of the gong rang out, everyone immediately focused their attention and looked in that direction without blinking. The Zhang family slowly appeared at the door. In front of them was a raised banner, and behind them were 2 cars. The banner on the cars had the word medicine written on it. This was the 3,000 volumes of medical skills that Zhang Xiaobao had promised to give to Wang Wan. The 2 chariots continued to move forward for a distance of 300 meters. Surprisingly, no one else appeared behind them. This caused endless disappointment to appear on the faces of the onlookers. Only 2 cars. The Zhang family's Najing sent 2 carts of gifts. A person standing behind the others retracted his long neck and muttered regretfully. The person in front of him felt hot and moved slightly. Without turning his head, he said, "Maybe it's 2 carts of banknotes, each worth 1 million. How much do you think it is?" Although he said so, he also felt very disappointed. It was not as good as a family with a little bit of money. Even an ordinary family in the capital would not only have such a small team. They had to show off their extravagance. Otherwise, who would know what they had sent? As soon as his voice fell, before others could echo, another team appeared at the Qixia gate. They were also carrying banknotes and sounding gongs. This time, there were a few more cars, a total of 20. The banner on the cars had the word Snow Lotus written on it. It was the 10,000 snow lotuses that Zhang Xiaobao had promised to give to Wang Wan. However, they could not keep them in full bloom. They were made into dried medicinal materials and put in the cars. I know, snow lotuses. 20 carts of snow lotuses. The one in front should be the medical skills. Look, what's behind? A person with faster reaction shouted first. His voice was not too loud, but it was enough for the people on the tower to hear clearly. Not long after, another team appeared. However, this time, there were not as many cars. Only a few people worked together to lift a large cloth. There was a picture on the cloth that looked like a certain place. There were also words on it. People who were close to the street could clearly see that the words written on it were Woyangyi Garden. Looking at the flowers on the picture, they were all peonies. Exclamations of surprise came from both sides of the street. As long as one was not a fool, they could guess what it meant. There was definitely a large garden with countless peonies around Luoyang. It could not be brought over, so it was painted on the cloth. If the medical skills and snow lotuses were said to be very ordinary, at least they would not be so shocked if they did not see 10,000 snow lotuses. However, knowing that there was such a large garden, the feeling was different. The land in Luoyang was not cheap. To be able to buy such a large garden, if they could have a smaller one, their life would not have been in vain. Before the exclamations of surprise died down, a fourth team appeared. This time, it was not a matter of a few cars. One car after another followed the road to the Wang family's location. Everyone watched. The cars in front had already become small dots, and the cars behind had not finished moving. The cars were not covered with any blindfolds, only ropes. The cars were all brocades. Usually, people would send some coarse cloth and carry it on their shoulders. It was not bad to carry a few loads. The Zhang family actually sent so many at once. If all of them were unloaded and piled together, it would probably form a mountain. Li Longji also found a good spot in the hot air balloon. Under the protection of others, he looked towards the entrance. After seeing the team, he said to Gao Lishur, Empress Wang, and Wu Huifei beside him, "It is said that Xiao Bao told Cuckoo, a brocade boat with 1,000 sails, 1,000 years of beauty, 3,000 volumes of medical books, no cold in spring, 10,000 snow lotuses, no heat in summer, a garden of hundreds of millions of grass, an autumn skirt dancing gracefully, like a mountain, a province, and winter snow. Now, it seems that this is a mountain of silk. Fly forward, I want to see the Chao Canal." With the order, a few hot air balloons began to move forward. There were also people below to protect them. At this moment, both sides of the Chao Canal were filled with people. They did not know that Zhang Xiaobao would send boats, but they believed that if they wanted to transport more things, they had to go by water. Without waiting for Li Longji's hot air balloon to fly above the Chao Canal, shadows of sails appeared from the east. Using the wind blowing from the west, they quickly approached. Boats, boats, many boats. On the shore, a sharp-eyed child was raised high above the adults' heads. He happened to see the shadows of the sails and shouted loudly. Everyone looked over, and as expected, sails appeared in their field of vision. No one could count how many boats there were, but they knew that there were many, many. "Your Majesty, they are all flower boats. There are no gunships." Gao Lishur did not count, but according to what Zhang Xiaobao had said, he knew that there were 1,000 flower boats. On them, colorful flags fluttered, and each boat was wrapped in brocade. Seeing that there were no cannons, he said to Li Longji with relief. "I saw it. It's not like we're attacking the capital. Why would we send gunships? Lishur, do you think that 1,000 flower boats will be able to win if they suddenly encounter 2,000 armed boats from Xinlua or Japan?" Li Longji first explained the reason why they did not send gunships, then he asked a question out of the blue. Gao Lisher was stunned for a moment, then he shook his head and replied, "Your Majesty, I feel that even if there are 10,000 boats from the two countries, if they really want to fight, there won't be many left intact in the end. I feel that those boats should have some defensive means." "Yes, a little. A little. Yes. Then let's continue watching. I want to see how big of a spectacle Zhang Xiaobao can put on." Sigh. "I don't think I can compare to it when I get married. Perhaps it will be about the same as when I'm on Mount Tai." Li Longji knew that what he saw was only the beginning. Otherwise, Zhang Xiaobao would not have cooked for more than a month continuously. It was so tiring to cook a different dish every day. If it was just a small army, it would not make sense. The others did not understand it as well as Li Longji. The people watching from the shore stared straight at the boats that were getting closer and closer. Their hearts were filled with shock. This was especially so for the unmarried women. Their eyes were filled with little stars. They fantasized about whether they would also have such a team to show off their strength on the day of their wedding. The men who were about to get married had ugly expressions. For example, if the family of a wealthy person did not have the gift from Zhang Xiaobao, they would have taken out a bit of money to put on a show. But now they understood that no matter how grand the wedding ceremony was, it could not compare to this, so the family of the bride would not be so happy. At this time, the people on the Wild Goose Tower could not see the specific situation on the canal. They could only see the shadows of the sails and could not guess whether the boats were carrying any goods. Amazing. The Zhang family of Sanshui is indeed extraordinary. They can actually put on such a grand spectacle. I have seen it in my life. A person who thought that it would be over put down his binoculars and said with emotion. Hearing this, the people around nodded. Not to mention the mountain of silk, just the countless boats were not something that an ordinary wealthy family could take out. Even if it was the marriage of a prince or other tycoons who could mobilize so many boats, it was impossible for them to put down their business and come here. It seemed that other than the Zhang family, no one else had the leisure to do so. Just when many people thought that the Zhang family's wedding ceremony was coming to an end, the Qixia gate was stable. The boats on the water stopped there, but the other gates moved. On the street not far from Xingqing Palace, the people who did not see the scene at the Qixia gate were regretting that they did not see the scene at the Qixia gate. Then, the Chunming gate next to it moved. 6 teams of people rushed out, each carrying a big roller. A dozen people carried one roller. After they went out of the Chunming gate, they began to run close to the city wall. As they ran, they released the thread. The golden thread was so dazzling under the sunlight. Every 10 feet or so, someone would nail twice on the city wall and then let the golden thread hang on it. Behind them, there was a team of people holding small lanterns. When opened, they were the size of a palm. One by one, they began to hang the lanterns on the golden thread. Gold. That's gold. Some craftsmen who specialized in making jewelry did not need to get close. They only needed to stand a little further away to judge what it was by seeing the reflection of the golden thread. Gold. What are they going to do by turning the gold into money? Someone could not figure it out and asked loudly in the noisy crowd. The 6 groups of people continued to run. Their speed was not too fast. It seemed that they were prepared for a long-distance run. As a result, some of the people who were still alive began to pant rapidly. They looked at the 6 groups with frightened eyes and said in a trembling voice, "No, no, 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 don't, 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 don't. Daunty. When the people nearby heard this and looked at the posture of the 6 teams, they could not help but start to think in this direction. How much gold is needed to circle one circle? Look at the lanterns. Hanging it on the lanterns is to let people know the thickness of the golden thread. If it's too thin, it won't be able to hang the lanterns at all. Rich, really rich. When my daughter gets married in the future, I'll be satisfied with just 1 circle of silver thread. It won't be 6 circles, a man in his 20s said blankly with a little girl in his arms. It's gold. It's gold. The girl did not agree. She clenched her little fists and waved them there, which made the people around laugh. At this time, Wang Wan was at home. She was indeed in the hot air balloon above the house. She was also holding a telescope to watch. After Zhang Xiaobao told her what he would give to her family that day, he went off to do his own work. She really did not know to what extent Zhang Xiaobao could do. The first 5 were there, and the rest were the ones in the number poem. At a glance, it was clear that the golden thread was the one that circled the city 6 times. There were still many more. Girl, how much does it cost? Wang Wan's mother accompanied her and asked her daughter. Wang Wan and Wei Wei shook their heads. Mother, I don't know. Xiao Bao did it himself. When the time comes, I'll ask him. He only knows how to do these things in pursuit of fame. Wang Wan said that she did not care and meant to belittle, but her usual calmness could not be seen on her face. She was so excited that her ears were red. Her eyes were watery as she looked at the hot air balloon floating above the Joy residence. It seemed that water would drip out of her eyes at any moment. How could Wang Wan's mother not know her daughter's thoughts? She sighed and said, Girl, your life is worth it. In the future, you must serve Xiao Bao well. Don't always bully him. Let him cook. Mother, who bullied him? He's the one who bullies me. Wang Wan lowered her head and said embarrassedly. That's good. When I got married, I was not as good as now. When little Zhu and little Yuan get married, I'll ask Xiao Bao to help me think of a way. Wang Wan's mother was a little regretful but also a little expectant. The people who stayed in the capital to watch the show did not wait for the situation of Qixia Gate and Chunming Gate to move to the 2 places after knowing the situation. The Gate of Golden Light on the west side of Chang'an also moved. From the west, there was also a team sounding the gong. Behind the team were huge scrolls of paintings, just like the Luoyang garden that they saw at Qixia Gate. The people here fixed their eyes on the first painting. It was a big lake with small words beside it, a bay of lake on both sides of the tide, Suzhou Taihu Lake. The second painting was a river and 3 mountains, and there was also a line of words, 3 mountains surround the Sisui River, Hunan Road, Green Dragon Mountain, and Sacred Mountain. The third painting was 5 mountains, and the words were 5 mountains pavilions, which happened to be the 5 mountains. There was a pavilion at the best position on each mountain. There was no need to be introduced, and the people who saw it knew what it meant. It was built by the Zhang family on the 5 mountains for the Wang family. The fourth painting was also a lake, but it was full of lotus flowers. If one looked carefully, one would immediately know what it was. It was Hangzhou's West Lake, and it said, thousands of acres of lotus fragrance, thousands of acres of land. The fifth painting was a forest with agarwood growing on it. Only those who had been to 100,000 mountains of Luzhou could recognize it. It said, 5 forests of agarwood, cranes rise everywhere. The places represented by the 5 paintings were understood by those who saw it. In the future, those places would belong to the Zhang family and the Wang family. They must have paid a lot of money to buy those places. My God, they bought Westlake. Will we still be able to go there in the future? A businessman wearing clothes of the Shui Yun brand looked at the painting in a daze. He had no doubt that Westlake would belong to the Wang family from now on. He was just worried that he would not be able to go to Hangzhou one day. Another businessman next to him also frowned and said, I guess so. They bought a lot of things, and they always let others go to many places. They don't care at all. Maybe they just want to have a good reputation and know who those places belong to. It's already good enough for others to give Najing some land. How can they compare to the Zhang family? Every gift is either a mountain or a lake. They can't compare, and can't compare. From now on, who doesn't know about the Zhang family? It's good that we can go there. But what about the tax? The previous businessman began to worry about the imperial court again. Of course, they have to pay. Buying a place has nothing to do with paying taxes, right? I guess it will be the same as before. Whoever does business in those places will have to pay taxes. I think the Zhang family and the Wang family will have to pay more. They can fix those places better. Next year, I'll definitely go there and have a look. Another businessman said enviously. At this time, he could not have any jealousy. This was the result when the gap between them was too big. The 2 businessmen were right. Li Longji, who was floating in the sky, did not care that the place had been bought by Zhang Xiaobao. He said happily to Wu Huifei and Empress Wang, if there is a chance in the future, we will go to Westlake. Xiao Bao bought it and said that he would give it to Cuckoo. In the end, he will still be in charge of it. He will definitely invest a lot of money to fix it. With his ability, he will earn more money and the scenery in the lake will be better than now. Strongman, what did Xiao Bao say? I remember that after he bought it from me, he said. Your Majesty, Xiao Bao said that the people who bought the place with him can continue to do business, but they have to listen to his orders. They can't cause chaos in the market. They won't pay taxes, and they will pay taxes on the money they earn. In this way, they can collect more taxes than before. Gao Lisher quickly replied. Originally, the place could not be sold, but Xiao Bao only wanted a nominal ownership right. If there was a war or other important times, the place would still be under the control of the imperial court. In addition, he had to make a promise. Only then would he sell it to him. Li Longji actually knew this, but he deliberately asked Gao Lisher to repeat it. He nodded happily, yes, it's like this. In the future, Xiao Bao said that he will make that phone call. I am not afraid even if I am far away from the capital. I can call the morning court, just like how Xiao Bao said that they will have a conference call in the future. I will have more time to travel around the Tang Empire. Strongman, you have to be my witness. Xiao Bao promised me that as long as I go to a place where his business is, he will be responsible for all the expenses. He will not use a single cent from the national treasury. Yes, I will be your witness, Gao Lisher said firmly. It's not easy. Li Longji sighed. Usually, I can't out-scheme him, and now, I finally found an opportunity. He is anxious to get along with Cuckoo, so how can I not compromise? Your Majesty is wise. Gao Lisher chimed in. However, his words did not sound right. It was as if Li Longji was taking advantage of the situation. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei also laughed. Wu Huifei leaned on Li Longji and said softly, Your Majesty didn't lower yourself to the same level as Zhang Xiaobao in the past. Otherwise, how could Zhang Xiaobao deceive Your Majesty? Don't praise me. At this moment, I'm not sure either. I don't know if Xiao Bao was really forced to compromise, or if he was taking a step back in order to advance. I have a feeling that he is scheming something, but I can't figure it out at the moment. Strongman, help me find out more. When I sold this place to him, it wasn't expensive. If he has other plans, I will find him and have a good talk with him. Li Longji was happy for a while, but then he started to feel uncertain. The main reason was that when they were discussing matters while eating Zhang Xiaobao's cooking at Hibiscus Garden, as long as he raised a condition, Zhang Xiaobao would agree to it without hesitation. That was how it was. The more it was like that, the more suspicious he became. Empress Wang added, Your Majesty, even if Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are scheming something, it's just money. It's not like they can spend it all. In the end, won't they still use it on the people of Great Tang? On. Look again, there are still some who haven't come out yet. Li Longji responded and continued to look in the direction of the Gate of Golden Light. The rest were probably coming from there. At the Gate of Golden Light, the next step had indeed begun. After the 5 paintings passed, there was a carriage about 100 feet away. It was slowly moving toward the city gate. There was a big basin on the carriage, and in the basin was a blood coral that was 10 feet tall. It had 9 forks, and 8 forks surrounded each other, like stars surrounding the moon. Seeing such a big coral, and a blood coral at that, the crowd burst into an uproar. They suspected that this was not the mortal world. Blood coral. Is it real? It can probably become an immortal. These were the words of an official from the capital. He had never seen a blood coral that was 10 feet tall. He had never even heard of it, let alone seen it. Today, it suddenly appeared in front of him, making him very excited. The others also looked at it without blinking, afraid that they would not have another chance after this. In the midst of the uproar, the blood coral passed by. Following it was a group of women. Each of the women held a plate in their hands, and on the plate were large pearls that were 1 inch in diameter. If it was just one, it would be fine, but there were at least 20 pearls on each plate. The total number of women added up to about 1,000 people. Even though the pearls at the back looked smaller, they were at least 80 centimeters in diameter. The pearls swayed as the people walked on the plate. When they were together, they could hear the loud sound of the pearls walking on the plate. The people who saw it were almost unable to open their eyes because of the dazzling light of the pearls. They all suspected that they had obtained all the pearls in the Great Tang. After the pearls passed by, another carriage came by alone. There was also a big flower pot on the carriage, but it was not filled with blood coral. Instead, it was filled with an iron tree that was 20 feet tall. If it was just an iron tree, it would not be a big deal. However, in the middle of the iron tree, there was a yellow thing that looked like an enlarged pine tower. It's blooming. The mute can speak. The iron tree is blooming. Where did they find an iron tree that is blooming at this time? Is there anything in this world that they cannot find? It's beautiful, really beautiful. An old man praised. In fact, the flower of the iron tree was not particularly beautiful. There were many flowers that were better than the iron tree. The main reason was that it was very difficult for the iron tree to bloom. After the old man said that, the people nearby sniffed and said, "Isn't that so? It's so fragrant." After the blooming iron tree passed by, 2 bigger carriages came from behind. There was a layer of brocade cover on the outside. No one knew what was inside, but it looked very tall. The carriage at the back was like a building. The carriage at the bottom was actually made of rare rubber that was shipped back from overseas. There were 16 big wheels. Even so, there were deep ruts on the ground. As they got closer and closer to the city gate, the covers of the 2 carriages at the front were lifted by others. "Aw!" The people who saw it almost shouted at the same time. There were actually 3 rooms on the top and 2 on the bottom. They were made of crystal. The only thing that made people feel a little relieved was that the houses were not carved out of a single piece of crystal. They could see that the colors were different, but they were pieced together very well. Everyone knew that these were definitely not made of glass. The Zhang and Wang families had a lot of glass. Naturally, they would not use it as a wedding gift. They did not know where they found so many crystals. Needless to say, they would not be able to live in the houses. After the crystal houses in front passed by, the taller ones at the back came over. Similarly, someone lifted the covers from the top. A dazzling white expanse was revealed. At a glance, it was actually 7 zhang tall. Everyone turned around to look at the city gate. They did not know if they could pass through. The city wall was made of cement and was 5 zhang tall. What should we do? Many people were worried at the same time. They were afraid that the houses would not be able to pass through. They could also see the texture of the houses. They were definitely not made of steel. As long as one had a little bit of knowledge, they could tell that the color was silver. A 7 zhang tall house made of silver. No wonder the wheels and the material of the carriage were squeaking under the weight. It was obviously the most tacky silver, but at this time, there was not the slightest bit of vulgarity. The people who drove the carriage were not as nervous as the people who were watching. When the houses reached the city gate, a few hooks fell down from the top of the city gate and just happened to hook the top of the house. The other side twisted the iron chain, and the house was divided into 2. The lower part was more than 4 zhang tall, and the upper part was more than 2 zhang tall. Just like that, the houses were separated and put back on the other side. This process was very slow. It lasted for half an hour. Even when the carriage was far away, the people still did not come back to their senses. The rumbling sound of horse hooves came, waking everyone up. They looked to the west again. At this time, they saw many carriages. The carriages were not too big. They were about the same size as the carriages used to pull carriages. However, there were too many of them. In addition to the west, there were also carriages in the east, north, and south of Chang'an. They were all driven towards the capital. The carriages were loaded with grain, smoked meat, wine jars, tables, chairs, and so on. Some of them even had umbrellas. The people who saw them were puzzled. They did not know why the carriages were bringing things here. Were they for the Wang family? Not to mention the current Wang family, even if there were 100 times more, they would not be able to eat so much. The carriages were still coming here, one after another. The carriages in front stopped at the city wall, and the carriages behind stopped about 2 zhang apart. They all leaned to the side of the main road, making space in the middle. It seemed that there were more carriages to pass through. The carriages on the south side of the Yellow River were all over the bridge. On the other side of the bridge, it was connected to the canal. It stretched all the way to the south bank, and there was also no end in sight. If it were not for the flags in front of the carriages that represented the logistics of the Great Tang, it would be easy for people to think that they were all carriages of the Zhang family. Even so, it was still very exciting. It seemed that other than the Zhang family and the Wang family, and the emperor, no one else could mobilize so many carriages. If one were to measure the distance on horseback, they would find that each direction was more than 20 li. It was even longer than the pilgrimage of Mount Tai. This is the 100 li carriages that Xiao Bao talked about. I thought that he was just saying it, but I didn't expect that he would really make 100 li carriages in 4 directions. There's also that boudoir made of silver. He said that it was 70 zhang, but he would rather separate when passing through the city gate than make it 50 zhang. Zhang Xiaobao, Zhang Xiaobao, people say that to make a beauty smile, you play with the warlords at the beacon fire. There's also the saying of keeping a mistress in a golden house. Zhang Xiaobao is even better than them, and he really dares to do it. This is bad. Li Shi, what else did Xiaobao say? While Li Longji was lamenting in the sky, he suddenly thought of an important question and hurriedly asked Gao Li Shi. Gao Li Shi swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He did not expect that every word his godson said to Wan Wan was true. There was not the slightest bit of falsehood. He said that the carriage was 100 li long, but the 4 directions were 20 to 30 li long. After thinking for a while, he trembled and replied, Your Majesty, Xiaobao also said that there were 7 teams of elites, 8 banners, and that they would be able to cover the sun for 10 days. Also, he said that there would be 6 armies. When he told Your Majesty agreed. The 6 armies that Xiaobao mentioned don't exist now. What gods will army? Where is it? Later on, Xiaobao said that it was the Imperial Guards. Your Majesty, are you really going to lend it to him? Ah. Yes, I thought that he was just going to let the Imperial Guards show their faces, but it doesn't seem like it. Could it be that he wants to transfer my 10,000 cavalry battalion? If I had known, I wouldn't have drunk the wine that he deliberately sent that day. I understand now. He did it on purpose. He wasn't joking. If that's the case, then the 7 teams of elites, 8 banners, and 8 banners will be coming soon. Speaking of 8 banners, his banners are all reinforced, and each battalion has at least 1,000 people. He might even have 1,500 people in each battalion. I wonder how many 7 teams of elites there are. That's not a big deal. It's only 10,000 people. What I'm afraid of is the second sentence. He wants to. Li Longji was also dumbfounded. He would be lying if he said that he wasn't nervous when he saw what Zhang Xiaobao had said back then really happen. When he thought of the words, 9 days shade over the sun for 10 days, the first thing he looked at was Chang and city beneath his feet. Beside him, Wu Huifei also opened her mouth, but she couldn't say anything. She guessed the meaning of this sentence. Zhang Xiaobao wanted to cover the sky of Chang'an for 10 days. Wu Huifei shook her head vigorously and trembled again. Her face was pale as she said, Your Majesty, can Zhang Xiaobao really do that? Just to win the beauty's smile? If he really does that, what's the point of King Yu of Zhou? At this moment, Li Longji's throat and eyes were dry. He took the water handed by Empress Wang and took a big gulp. He nodded and said, I finally know. Zhang Xiaobao is a lunatic. I didn't eat for a month for nothing. The only difference is that King Yu of Zhou will destroy the country if he starts the fire. Zhang Xiaobao only spends a lot of money and has extraordinary organizing skills. Chang'an is now famous. Now that I think of it, the famous logistics camp in Idyll has just been discovered. What's the big deal? Compared to today's battle array, it pales in comparison. What do you think, Li Shi? Gao Li Shi also drank a lot of water just now. He nodded vigorously and said, Your Majesty, this means that we don't have to worry about the war. Xiao Bao can make such a scene for Cuckoo today. When we fight in the future, we can leave the logistics to him. If he finds a reason to ignore it, Your Majesty should punish him. Yes. I think so too. In the future, if he dares to shirk on matters related to organizing and dispatching, I will not let him off lightly. I will order the 10,000 cavalry camp to prepare. I think Xiao Bao will come to me soon to ask for him. Li Longji gritted his teeth and said. He decided to let Zhang Xiaobao do more work in the future. Didn't you make such a scene for me today? Then you have to do the same for other things. If you don't do it, you are lying to the emperor. Sure enough, Li Longji was right. Not long after he finished speaking, Zhang Xiaobao came flying over. The hot air balloon came closer and closer. He bowed to Li Longji from afar and shouted, "Your Majesty, I miss you." Li Longji looked helplessly at the approaching Zhang Xiaobao. When the distance between them was less than 10 meters and they were about to collide, he had his hot air balloon move to the side. Only then did he say, "Xiaobao, we miss you too. After this matter, we will probably think about you for a while." Zhang Xiaobao also knew that he had gone a little overboard, but who asked him to like Wang Wan? He didn't want Wang Wan to feel wronged in the slightest. Taking advantage of other people's carelessness, he turned his words into reality. He bowed to Li Longji in an embarrassed manner and said, "Your Majesty, when this subject drank with Your Majesty that day, Your Majesty promised this subject something. Does Your Majesty still remember?" "I remember." "Do you want to use the Chamberlain of Chamberlain or the 10,000 cavalry camp?" Li Longji was no longer in the mood to chat with Zhang Xiaobao and asked directly. "The Jinmu guards are meant to protect Your Majesty, how would this subject dare to use them?" "The 10,000 cavalry camp will do. Help me maintain order. I have prepared a banquet for everyone in Chang'an and the vicinity. I have already brought the things here. After today, I will go to the hibiscus garden to cook 2 dishes for Her Majesty. They will be extremely delicious." Zhang Xiaobao had achieved his goal. He couldn't touch the Golden Guards, but he could still use the 10,000 cavalry battalion. After all, they weren't fighting a war. They were just there to maintain order. Which army doesn't protect me? Go, go, go. We will accompany you in your madness and let the other countries see the richness of my great Tang. In the future, if anyone dares to object, we can use you, Xiaobao, to threaten them. Li Longji pondered for a moment and felt that it was not a big deal. He did not need the national treasury to pay for it. If Zhang Xiaobao had the money, then let him spend it. Zhang Xiaobao didn't stand on ceremony. He accepted the order, took the token, and turned around to make the arrangements. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao fly further and further away, Li Longji suddenly thought of what he had just said. He shouted to Zhang Xiaobao, "Xiaobao, let me ask you. Do you want to cover Chang'an city for 10 days? Chapter 890. Li Longji had agreed to lend the token to Zhang Xiaobao's 10,000 riders battalion, so Zhang Xiaobao did not hold back at all. He took the token and immediately went to arrange for the people. The 10,000 riders battalion was indeed good, and their horses were not ordinary horses. However, Zhang Xiaobao did not think much of them. An army that had not been on the battlefield for a long time, what kind of deterrence would they have? The people that Zhang Xiaobao had prepared for Wang Wan had been secretly fighting with the disobedient tribes of Tubo and the people who had infiltrated. There were not many of them, and each time they were deployed, they were only involved in small-scale battles and special operations. Even Wang Wan did not know about this. Sometimes, Zhang Xiaobao deliberately made arrangements behind Wang Wan's back. It was not that he did not trust Wang Wan, but he was afraid that Wang Wan would worry too much. Now, he was finally going to take it out as a gift for Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao was a little nervous, afraid that Wang Wan would not like it. Previously, he had said that it was an elite force. In order to prevent the army from worrying too much, the 10,000 riders battalion could only be in charge of maintaining order when the people of Chang'an were invited to eat. At least, the discipline of this army was not bad. After receiving the order, the 10,000 riders battalion appeared outside and in Chang'an. On one hand, they maintained order, and on the other hand, they spread the word that the food and drinks carried by so many carriages were prepared for everyone. The ordinary people were now living a good life. They did not care about the food that Zhang Xiaobao gave them, but mainly wanted to share in the good luck. The wealthy merchants and the family members of the officials were worried about offending Zhang Xiaobao. They had seen the situation today. Not to mention following Zhang Xiaobao's instructions, even if they copied one of them, they would not be able to do it. The simplest way was to give some books and medical books. However, if they really wanted to give them, they would find that they could not find such good medical books. They would not be able to casually take out a few of the same medical books. As a result, there was a special situation inside and outside Chang'an. Those who knew the news came to the tables set up and looked for acquaintances. They talked about what had happened today while eating and drinking. From their point of view, the Zhang family and Wang family's recruitment was already over. All this food was just a celebration. Only a small number of people understood that there was still one most important thing that had not appeared, and that was the words Zhang Xiaobao had said back then, which were taken as a joke by others: 7 teams of elites, 8 battalions banners, covering the sun for 9 days and lasting for 10 days. Back then, when news of this matter spread, claiming that it was Zhang Xiaobao's promise to Wang Wan, it was written in black and white. The people led by Li Longji thought that Zhang Xiaobao was exaggerating to make the beauty happy. However, after seeing everything that had happened today, those who knew about this matter no longer dared to think that way. They realized that Zhang Xiaobao was capable of doing anything. Now, all they had to do was wait for the last 2 hours to appear quickly and end quickly. They had to stop messing around. The normal life of the entire Chang'an city had been disrupted. Sister, can people live in that house? Are you and brother going to live there in the future? If we live there together, will it collapse? Xiao Bei, who was standing in the same basket as Wang Wan in the hot air balloon, asked longingly when he saw the beautiful crystal house. Wang Wan's face had not changed color since the first team entered the city today. She was always so red. Sometimes, it was because she was shy when talking to her mother, but more often, it was because she was excited because Zhang Xiaobao had kept his promise. Wang Wan, who had thought that her mentality was stable enough and would not fluctuate too much, still found it hard to calm down when she saw everything happen according to Zhang Xiaobao's promise. This was especially so when she saw so many beautiful pearls, the gorgeous house, and the teams that had just appeared to deliver food from all directions. Looking at the spectacular scene from the sky, Wang Wan felt as if she was in a dream. She repeated Zhang Xiaobao's words over and over again in her heart. Now, there were only 2 things left to see. As she thought about it, Wang Wan looked to the west again. She knew that if there was an army coming, it would definitely come from there. Zhang Xiaobao would not mobilize the people from Lizhou, nor would he use Li Sun's people, let alone take the wolf soldiers from Luzhou. Sister, are you going to live with brother alone in the future and don't want us anymore? Xiao Bei asked again when she did not get a reply. Her face was full of worry. It's okay. I'll be with you. I want you. Little Yuan stood behind Xiao Bei and said with concern. Who wants you? Do you know how to tell stories? Do you know how to cook? Xiao Bei clearly did not give little Yuan any face. Wang Wan regained her senses at this moment. She pinched Xiao Bei's face and said, I don't want to live in that house. It's quite hard. I'll have to live with our Xiao Bei in the future. Yes, I also noticed that it's very hard. It's made of jade. Even if it was made into a house, no one would want to live in it. Even if there were quilts everywhere, the jade would still be very cold. I wonder why brother built this house. It's not even as good as our house. Xiao Bei followed Wang Wan's words and analyzed. Wang Wan and Wei Wei smiled and did not say anything else. They looked to the west again. Just as many people were preparing to have a good meal and go home to rest, a cloud of dust suddenly appeared in the west. The people in the west of Chang and could clearly feel the ground trembling. Even Li Longji, who was flying in the sky, seemed to be shocked when he saw the billowing cloud of dust and the blurry figures in the dust. The people who had just sat down to eat had no choice but to stand up again. They tried their best to hide by the side of the road, afraid that they would be hurt by the sudden situation. Wang Wan raised her binoculars to look, but her eyes were not enough. She could not estimate the number of people. The cloud of dust was really too big. If she looked carefully, she could vaguely see that the troops coming over were 3 horses per person. In other words, if there were 1,000 people, there would be 3,000 horses. Wang Wan was very familiar with this scene. She was once familiar with the light cavalry in historical records that could run continuously on the grassland. As the troops got closer and closer, the ground in Chang and city, which was closer to the west, also started to shake. The rumbling sound of the horses' hooves was continuous, like rolling thunder. Zhang Xiaobao, who was in charge of organizing this, frowned and picked up his binoculars to look at the sky. He did not continue to pay attention to the cavalry troops below. After waiting for a while, he did not see any changes in the sky. He could not help but ask the people beside him, "Where are they?" Chapter 891. Listening to the explanation of the person beside him, Zhang Xiaobao was slightly helpless. He looked down at the billowing dust below and ordered the person beside him, hand over the command of the Special Forces and the Wind Cavalry 8 battalions. "Yes, young master," the person beside Zhang Xiaobao replied, then hesitated and asked, "Young master, who will you hand it over to?" "Of course it will be to the Bohai provincial governor." Zhang Xiaobao realized for the first time that the person beside him had become a fool. Understood. This person did not dare to ask any more questions. He was indeed a fool. He was only in charge of the military side of things. When he saw the scene in front of him, he was still in shock. The beeping sound of a telegram rang out. A group of people immediately ran to the hot air balloon that Wang Wan was sitting on. The flag signaler waved the flag and beat the drum twice. "Wan, what are they doing?" When Wang Wan looked down, her mother asked curiously. "Ah. Let me take command." "Mother, Xiaobao is handing over the command of the army to me." Wang Wan did not need anyone to translate. She could easily understand the signal and replied to her mother. "Then take command. Remember not to make any mistakes," Wang Wan's mother said again. Wang Wan did not have the time to reply to her mother. Using the binoculars, she swept the dust from the west and began to make hand signals to the people below. The people below saw Wang Wan's hand signals through the binoculars and turned them into telegrams to the front. The people in front were standing on the city wall. The moment they received the telegram, they immediately raised the flag and beat the gongs and drums. The sound of gongs, drums, and flags fluttered in the wind. The troops that had stirred up the dust immediately moved according to the order. The sound of horses neighing could be heard first. Then, the people outside the west gate heard the sound of 1 and 1. With a rumble, the whole world became quiet. Only the large tremor on the ground had not dissipated from the hearts of the people. At this moment, the wind seemed to know that it had to cooperate. It changed its direction and gradually blew away the dust, revealing what was hidden inside. Those with binoculars and good vantage points were the first to see the situation in front of them. There were countless horses and countless people. The people on the horses clamped the horses under them with their legs and held the reins with their hands. Each person had 3 horses and stopped there quietly. "Get closer, get closer. We want to see how the army Xiaobao has trained for cuckoo is like." Li Longji, who was already slowly moving forward, ordered the hot air balloon to continue moving closer to him. Wu Huifei was a little worried and advised, "Your Majesty, the cavalry below all carry spears." "I know. Do you think they can beat me?" If Xiao Bao and Cuckoo really have such thoughts, there is no need for the people below to take action. At this distance, the two of them can shoot me with their sniper rifles from the hot air balloon. I don't think they will miss. Li Longji did not care. Now that weapons were advanced, if a close official really wanted to make a move against him, he would have been killed long ago. When more dust was blown away by the wind and fell to the ground, the entire army was revealed. The members of the imperial clan watching from the other hot air balloons could not help but gasp. It was not that the army was very orderly. Compared to that, they were not as orderly as the guards of honor that Zhang Xiaobao had specially trained for the imperial court. What was shocking was the valiant attitude of the soldiers below that seemed to be endless. All of them were topless, and there were many grenades and magazines hanging on their waists. They carried guns on their backs, and dust stuck to their bodies, which were washed into streaks by sweat. Their short hair and faces of various shapes were also streaked with traces of sweat when they were dripping. If one looked closely, they would find that every one of them was from the great Tang. They were all Tubo. It was unknown how they were chosen, but they were tall and strong. One could see a kind of unswerving determination in the eyes of the people in the first few rows. Everyone stood there motionless and did not make any unnecessary movements. Even if sand got into some people's eyes due to the dust, they still let their tears flow out to help wash it away. However, no one rubbed their eyes with their hands. Seeing this scene, some of the members of the imperial clan smiled. Wei Wei nodded, "That's right. Devilish Cuckoo's army is definitely not ordinary." Some became nervous. Will Wang Wan take this opportunity to make a move on us? Some were confused. How did they train an army? Who is the army that Zhang Xiaobao sent to Wang Wan to attack? Wang Wan's hot air balloon was moving towards the west of Chang'an City at the fastest speed. Her eyes were wide open. With a rough look, she knew that it was an army of 8 battalions. The flags were raised there, and each battalion had more people than a normal battalion. It was estimated that there were 1,000 reinforced battalions. Biting her lips, Wang Wan murmured softly, 8,000 elite cavalry. Xiao Bao trained 8,000 elite cavalry for me. Humph, he even secretly didn't tell me. I'll settle the score with him tonight. They're much more powerful than our children's regiment. I thought they were just a little lacking in size. What's with that gaze? It's so scary, little Yuan. Little Bei also raised a large telescope and looked in that direction. Little Yuan was also shocked. So powerful. Contempt. Contempt for life. They've probably killed before. Don't talk nonsense. How many people have brother and sister killed? I've also never seen them look at us like that. Little Bei tried to lean on little Yuan. That's why they have to listen to brother and sister. Little Yuan said a very philosophical sentence. Wang Wan didn't care about what her brother and sister said. Her heart was already filled with emotions. She understood that when the physiological conditions were right, no matter what Zhang Xiaobao did to her, she couldn't really oppose it. However, Zhang Xiaobao had been holding back, waiting for this moment, and secretly making arrangements. In the future, these 8,000 people could be brought out into the open, and she could use what she had learned to her heart's content. The elite soldiers of the 8 battalions below were true iron-blooded warriors. If they didn't charge, they wouldn't stop charging. For 5,000 years, no one would give a woman such a gift, not even Empress Wu Zetian's imperial army's 1,000 cavalry. Why is a man so meticulous? Thinking about it, Wang Wan muttered. She rubbed the corner of her eyes with her sleeves and gestured to the people below to put on the bayonets. After a dozen breaths of time after Wang Wan gave the order, the soldiers of the 8 battalions below took out their spears, retracted their spears, took out their bayonets, put on their bayonets, and straightened their spears. A series of actions were completed smoothly. When the white bayonets were put on, almost everyone was stunned. Wang Wan and Wei Wei were stunned. Little Hai behind them asked doubtfully, "What kind of bayonet is this?" "It's estimated to be 3 feet long, but the solitude in front is too big. It's actually 90 degrees. It's like the crescent moon." At this time, Wang Wan explained to her brother. She narrowed her eyes and stared at the bayonet. She said, "This is the bayonet used by the cavalry when charging. The horses of the cavalry are all Fergana horses that are less than 3 years old. In short sprints, they can reach a speed of more than 40 kilometers per hour. The effect of force is mutual. When the bayonet is stabbed, you will also have to bear the same force. When the time comes, what do you think the result will be, Little Hai? They will fly down from the horse. If the opponent is also riding a horse to charge, then..." Little Hai was already speechless. "So, when the bayonet is stabbed into someone's body, it will be over for you. Even if the speed is slow, once the bayonet is stabbed, you won't be able to pull it out. That's why your brother equipped the cavalry with bayonets like this. It's not to kill many enemies, but when they are surrounded, they just need to charge through for a short distance and then use their spears to fight back." Wang Wan looked at the bayonet that was shining brighter than a Damascus knife and explained. "Sister, brother is really amazing. He can think of this." Little Bei actually didn't understand, but when it came to her brother, she had to support him. She then pointed with her hand. "I see Uncle Huzi. He's in that small group of people." Wang Wan looked carefully. Wasn't that right? Beside the 8 battalions, there was half a battalion of people. Huzi, as the leader, was at the forefront. At this moment, Wang Wan finally understood what Xiaobao meant by the 7 elite teams. It turned out that they were the special forces. Huzi and the rest of the 56 people were the first special forces team to be groomed. They were the Team 0, the strong and strong seedlings. You only know how to fool around. What does the special forces need so many people for? I have always fought fair and square. I don't use underhanded methods." Wang Wan looked at the special forces that were half a battalion's worth of special forces happily and said with a smile. Chapter 892. No matter how much Wang Wan complained about the number of special forces that Zhang Xiaobao had prepared for her, or whether she pretended to be dissatisfied, the 7 brigades of special forces below could not be thrown away. 7 brigades, 80 people in each, and 8 small teams. It just so happened that the members of the number 0 protection team formed a team with 9 people each. Looking at the way they sat on the horses without using stirrups, looking at their eyes and the slight movements of their bodies, Wang Wan could understand the strength of this team. The invention of stirrups was epic-making. However, without stirrups, as long as the person was skilled enough, he or she could do more things on the horses. "Hide!" Wang Wan puffed up her chest and gave the order to the special forces. The flag on the city wall that was specially used to give orders to the special forces waved back and forth a few times. 560 people almost instantly slipped off their horses. Yes, they slipped off their horses. They did not move as fast as normal people. It was as if they were thieves. Then, they quickly squeezed into the crowd. In the beginning, they could still see them weaving in and out of the dazed crowd. After a while, the people who were staring suddenly realized that the target was gone. Where did the person I was staring at go? He ran so fast. A person on the side of the road was puzzled. Just now, his eyes were locked on a person, wanting to see what the other party was going to do. In the end, that person seemed to have stopped in an invisible place, blocked by something. After waiting for a while, there was still no movement. That thing was a cart with cooked food. The cart moved, but the person was gone. This person was puzzled and asked the person who had squeezed to the side to give out food. The person who delivered the food, Wei Wei, lowered her head. He just took off his coat and took the food from the car. He avoided most of the people's line of sight and used the car to block and walked a few steps away. He adjusted his distance away from the normal line of sight and changed his direction. How did you know? Give me one of Zhao's pig feet. Ghost, when did you come to my side? Now, when the person who spoke turned around to take the food, he suddenly recognized the person who delivered the food. It was the person he was staring at just now. Why are you staring at me? And your hand is still on your waist. Do you want to harm someone? The man raised his head and stared at him with the gaze of a person delivering gifts. You can change your eyes too. I'm just curious. I'm the Secretary of State of Chang and County, and I always have to keep my accounts. I always keep my hands there because I'm afraid that I'll lose them in the crowd. I don't mean any harm. Aren't the special forces very good on the battlefield? Why did it change? This person seemed to know about the existence of the special forces. Afraid of being misunderstood, he quickly explained. The man from the special forces nodded and handed over a pig's claw. He said, "You don't have to worry about that. Our training is different." Wang Wan, who was on the hot air balloon, was satisfied. 560 people were hidden just like that. From the looks of it, Zhang Xiaobao had trained according to the methods of special agents. At the very least, it would be troublesome for her to find them, and she would never be able to lock onto them. Send a telegram to Zhang Jidushi and ask him if he can find everyone. Wang Wan thought of what happened before she came to Tang. When Zhang Xiaobao talked to her, he was very sure that he wanted to run away. She didn't believe that she couldn't catch him even if he left at the last moment. Soon, the telegram came back with a message in the semaphore. If you couldn't find me, you would have been caught. During the last period of time outside, there were many pairs of eyes and many surveillance cameras, but you were looking for me in the crowd over and over again. Humph, bragging. I don't believe it. Pass down my order. The cavalry of the 8 battalions will patrol around Chang'an City. Wang Wan curled her lips and passed down another order. The cavalry of the 8 battalions quickly spread out and began to patrol around Chang'an City. At this time, the people watching were numb, especially the people of the imperial clan. When they saw the 8,000 cavalry, their thoughts of making trouble disappeared in an instant. Unless it was a special period, who dared to transfer 8,000 private soldiers to Chang'an City? It was an army of 8,000 strong men and horses, equipped with repeating rifles and special bayonets, not 800 unarmed laborers. Others might not understand so deeply, but the people of the imperial clan knew. They knew what kind of fighting power the 8,000 cavalry trained by Zhang Xiaobao had in Wang Wan's hands. Back then, when he went to command the troops in a hurry, he was able to defeat Tubo. How could those soldiers be compared to the 8 battalions now? Taking advantage of this opportunity, it wouldn't be a problem for the two of them to usurp the throne. There were still 1,000 ships docked on the river. Who would believe that there weren't cannons there? Just when the people of the imperial clan had this thought and didn't have time to think about how to deal with it, a cloud drifted in with the wind from the horizon. The dark clouds were so dark that they couldn't see the end of it. Wang Wan was also stunned. Wei Wei opened her mouth and looked at the approaching dark clouds in the sky. She ordered her subordinates to send a telegram. How many hot air balloons did you make? The reply was, 6,000. I made them in a hurry. It's a little too few. Come over here. It's tiring to send messages. Another telegram was sent. Zhang Xiaobao's hot air balloon floated over at the fastest speed and shouted at the top of his voice, "What's the matter? Lower your voice. I can hear you. You made 6,000 hot air balloons. Isn't it a waste? You can use other things, but you made so many hot air balloons. Where are you going to throw them?" Wang Wan's lips moved. Zhang Xiaobao quickly replied, "It's not a waste. In order to make you happy, I won't waste any money. Besides, I have other plans. So it's not all for me. You continue to count tonight. I won't let you count tonight. See how I'll deal with you tonight. When it's over, go and wash up." After Wang Wan finished speaking, she bit her lip and began to wait for the hot air balloons to arrive. Her face was as pink as the morning glow. "Understood. I'll wash up. What about you?" Zhang Xiaobao was happy. This day had finally come. "I'll prepare a pot and steam you. Stay away. Don't give orders in front of me." Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. She didn't dare to look at Zhang Xiaobao and turned her head to look at the hot air balloons. Xiaobei blinked his big eyes and looked confused. He said to Xiaoyuan, "Brother and sister seem to want to play by themselves tonight. They won't tell us stories. I think that's the case. What should we do?" This is called Guan Guan Juju, in the state of the river. A fair and gentle lady, a gentleman's mate. Later on, a fair and gentle lady, where bells and drums play. When we grow up, it'll be the same. Xiaoyuan was indeed a cultured person. He knew a lot and recited a line of the Book of Songs for Xiaobei. Xiaobei turned his head and looked at Xiaoyuan. "Who's like you? Unless you can do what my brother did with your own abilities, I'll want it too." "What do you want?" Xiaoyuan asked a little diffidently. "I want what my brother gave to my sister. A bay of lakes on both sides of the tide, 3 mountains around the Sisui River, 5 towers with 6 armies gathered, 7 teams of elites with 8 banners, 9 days sheltered from the sun, 100 miles of carriages and livestock, 10,000 acres of fragrant lotus fields, 100 boxes of pearls on a sliding plate, 9 feet of coral branches spread out, 80 years of ironwood flowers blooming, 7 feet of silver built into a boudoir, 6 circles of golden silk around the city. 5 forests of agarwood, 3 crystal houses with 2 layers of eaves, deep love and unchanging heart." Xiaobei had a hard time carrying other things, but this was the first thing he could do. Xiaoyuan's forehead, which didn't sweat much, was now shining with Weiwei. He rubbed his forehead with the back of his hand. "I can do the last one. The first part is all money. Some can't be bought with money. I'll tell my brother and let him get it." "Who did my brother tell?" "Now the hot air balloon flying here is ready to cover the sky of Chang'an. From now on, there will be no more extravagance in the Tang Empire. So you have to work hard and surpass them with your own abilities." Xiaobei's eyes were full of little stars. She didn't know anything about love. She only knew that if you played with me, I would play with you. If you were good to me, I would be good to you. But her brother was so good to her sister that he got so many things to play with. Xiaoyuan opened his mouth and finally said helplessly, "Forget it, I can't get it. I've decided to count the moon for the rest of my life." The 2 children didn't care too much, but the other adults' hearts were fluctuating. People say that a promise is worth 1,000 kilograms, but Zhang Xiaobao's words are worth more than 1,000 kilograms of gold. After this, no one can compete with him. Alas, it's hard for other men who are going to get married recently. Li Sun's father, Li Qingyi, also came to the capital to watch the fun. After all, His son had been helped a lot by the Zhang family and the Wang family. It would be unreasonable if he didn't come to support the scene. Seeing this scene, he sighed with emotion. He still didn't know that if it weren't for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he would have died. He could live until now because of the two of them. Prince Ning, Li Xian, was right next to Li Qingyi. His son, Li Yu, had also been helped by Zhang Xiaobao many times. When he heard the voice, he nodded and said, "Yes, Sun Er is not getting married. I guess he wants to find someone similar to Cuckoo. Unfortunately, there is only one Cuckoo. It's time to talk about him." Li Sun was actually his son, who was adopted by Li Qingyi. Although he couldn't say it openly, he also missed him. While everyone was in a daze or whispering, 6,000 hot air balloons floated over. Without Wang Wan's command, they automatically pulled into rows and stopped in the sky above Chang'an. Then, they ejected ropes from each other. When the ropes were connected to each hot air balloon, they began to use the ropes to carry the wide cloth over. Strips of cloth replaced the ropes. The moment the 6,000 hot air balloons were connected, the whole of Chang'an lost its color. The sun was blocked, letting the people below feel the shade. This is the 9 heavens. Shade the sun for 10 days, cover the 9 heaven sun, cover the 9 heaven sun, moon and stars, rest for 10 dynasties. No, if he covers the sun for 10 days, won't it be chaotic? Li Shi, tell Zhang Xiaobao that he has enough face. He can't go too far. Just covering the sun for 1 day will be enough. Li Longji looked at the dark sky and said in fear. Gao Li was also scared. His adopted son really dared to do this. If someone played a trick and shot the fire arrows up, wouldn't it burn up all of them? The whole of Chang'an would be in a sea of fire. Thinking about this, Gao Li immediately sent a telegram to Zhang Xiaobao, telling him to restrain himself. Not long after, Zhang Xiaobao replied, saying that he would go to the palace early the next morning to explain. This action had other uses, so it was guaranteed that nothing would go wrong. Li Longji thought about it for a while and finally chose to believe Zhang Xiaobao. But if he didn't make it clear tomorrow morning and convince everyone, he would have to withdraw immediately. Today, the 10,000 riders would have to work a little harder. When they suddenly realized that the sky was dark, the children in Chang'an acted as if they had seen something fun. They laughed and ran around, looking very excited. The adults were speechless. After shaking their heads and sighing, they looked for a carriage that delivered food and wine to eat and drink. This was a gift from the Zhang family. They ate for 10 days straight. They couldn't imagine how much the Zhang family had spent on this. Wang Wan also arranged for the soldiers of the battalion to maintain law and order outside. The special forces were scattered to guard key places to prevent anyone from causing trouble. After everything was arranged and people sat next to all the carriages, eating, drinking, and chatting, the sun had already passed. Zhang Xiaobao was nowhere to be seen, and no one knew what he was busy with. The people of the Wang family were busy putting the things that had been delivered into the warehouse one by one. Those that they couldn't put away were distributed to other places. They didn't have time to count them, nor did they count them like other families. Excited, and shy, Wang Wan felt both physically and mentally exhausted and went to rest. At night, when the lanterns were lit, Wang Wan, who had changed her clothes, entered the crystal house. She spread the bedding, lit the candles, and prepared the food and wine, waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to come in. Although it wasn't the time to get married yet, Wang Wan didn't care. Zhang Xiaobao had done everything that should be done. She believed that no woman would continue to be reserved. After waiting for about a quarter of an hour, Zhang Xiaobao, who had also changed his clothes, came in a little nervous. His small face was pink and tender, and it was unknown whether it was because he was excited or because he was scrubbed in the shower. You haven't slept yet. Zhang Xiaobao lowered his head and walked to the side of the table, asking Wang Wan. If I sleep, what will you do? Come here, I'll drink 2 glasses of wine with you. Tell me, how many good girls have you cheated with this trick before? Wang Wan said with her beautiful eyes full of love. No, I used to cheat big officials, banks, and so on. If I want to cheat, you are the first one. Zhang Xiaobao took 2 deep breaths, gave himself courage, and then dared to sit opposite Wang Wan. Wang Wan picked up the wine bottle, poured the wine inside into 2 glasses, and pushed 1 glass in front of Zhang Xiaobao, and said softly, "Tonight, I am your man. Do you have anything to say?" "Yes, tonight I am your man. Do you have anything to say?" Zhang Xiaobao nervously repeated. Pfft, Wang Wan laughed. Zhang Xiaobao, with your current performance, you think you can cheat people? Won't the people you cheated die in anger? Yes, die in anger. Cheers. Zhang Xiaobao's hand that was holding the glass was pale. Fortunately, the crystal glass was strong enough, otherwise it would have been crushed by him. Cheers, how do you drink? Give me your arm. What for? Let's drink cross-cupped wine. Okay, let's drink. Zhang Xiaobao stretched out his arm, and the 2 of them drank in 1 gulp. Wang Wan poured another cup and continued to drink. She downed 3 cups in a row and did not touch the dishes at all. Wang Wan, whose cheeks were rosy, carefully walked to the bed. She turned over and did not make a sound. Zhang Xiaobao quivered, and then quickly followed. Chapter 893. It was already past noon, and the sunlight seeped through the gaps in the cloth, creating a dreamy and hazy scene. Zhang Xiaobao opened his eyes and looked around blankly. Only then did he remember where he was. Turning his head to look at Wang Wan, who was still sleeping on his arm, he suddenly felt a different feeling in his heart. In the past, he had also slept like this, but he had never felt the urge to shoulder all the responsibilities and not let the other party suffer the slightest grievance. In the past, he had just been someone who accompanied him in Great Tang. At the very least, the 2 of them weren't strangers, and they were more like friends. The reason why he protected the other party was because he was a man. But today, he was protecting the other party because he was the other party's man. Now that he truly had her, he had an additional desire to protect her. Looking at those eyelashes that naturally curled up without the need for eyelashes and that relaxed and sweet expression on her face, Zhang Xiaobao couldn't help but inch his lips closer, wanting to kiss Wang Wan's slightly chubby cheeks and those little red lips. What are you doing so sneakily? Just as Zhang Xiaobao's lips were about to touch Wang Wan's face, Wang Wan's words gave Zhang Xiaobao a fright. Like a thief, he hurriedly explained, "Nothing, I'm just looking, just looking." Are you done looking? Yes, I'm done looking. Then give me a kiss. Oh, why did the feeling suddenly change? I should be the one taking the initiative, but I actually took the initiative after just a few words. Are you hungry? Zhang Xiaobao pressed his lips against Wang Wan's face and rubbed them vigorously as he asked in satisfaction. Aren't you going to cook for Li Longji? My mother said that I should be the one making breakfast for you. Wang Wan lazily yawned. Don't all wealthy families have maids to serve them? Why would your mother tell you this? We're not an ordinary family. Zhang Xiaobao continued to stare at Wang Wan, and no matter how much he stared, he couldn't get enough of it. Did I say anything about Li Longji? Let's talk about it tonight, he's not as important as my wife. Wang Wan pursed her lips and smiled. Then she sighed a little sadly and said, It's mother, not mother. She said to fry eggs for men to nourish their bodies, otherwise they would be weak. Are you weak? Me. A young man sleeping on a cold brick bed depends entirely on the heat. Zhang Xiaobao tried his best to stick out his chest. Loquacious. Hubby, do you feel like it's not that precious anymore after you get it? Wang Wan asked calmly. Zhang Xiaobao's eyes were. Who said that? Later tonight, I'll go find Shaoli and buy Mount Huangshan for you to go on an outing. We already have pavilions in the 5 mountains. People say that when you return from the 5 mountains, you don't look at the mountains. When you return from Mount Huangshan, you don't look at the mountains. This matter is settled. When the time comes, we'll go whichever type of pine tree you want. Wait, I'll go make soup for you. You can eat it. As he spoke, Zhang Xiaobao slipped out of bed naked. He randomly put on his clothes and walked out. Wang Wan was lying on the bed. Her eyes were slightly red as she called out, "Husband. Lie down, it'll be done in a while. I'll use the pressure cooker and add some other medicine." Zhang Xiaobao ordered Wang Wan with a look that didn't allow her to refuse. He turned around and walked out of the room. Half an hour later, Wang Wan got up, washed up, changed into a gorgeous dress, and tied up her hair. She sat at the table. At this time, the black chicken soup was already on the table. Zhang Xiaobao held a spoon in his hand. He was a little angry and a little helpless. He scooped up a spoonful, blew it, and tasted it. Then, he sent it to Wang Wan's mouth and said, "Drink it." "I didn't make it. Doctor." Sun brought 2 interns to make it. There are red dates and the long white ginseng we found. I asked him to add motherwort, but he didn't. He said no. I saw that he was old, so I let him do it and didn't argue with him. He started to stew it since last night. Sigh. When the family is big, there are also some things that are uncomfortable. Many things that you want to do by yourself are taken care of by others. Taste it and remember the taste. Next time, I'll make it. Let's see who does it better. Of course, it's my Xiao Bao who does it better. Okay, I'll do it myself. If I let you do it, will you kill it? Wang Wan wanted to take the spoon, but when she saw Zhang Xiaobao insist, she had to open her mouth and slowly drink it. Zhang Xiaobao scooped up another spoonful, blew it again, and said while feeding it to Wang Wan, "Isn't it just killing a chicken? It's simple." Old man's son used boiling water to boil it. When I do it, I first feed the chicken the yellow wine made with wolfberry, and then directly pinch its neck. In this way, the medicinal wine can better enter the meat and suffocate it to death. It's too cruel, I won't talk to you anymore. My husband is the best. I'm afraid that a weak woman like me who trembles at the sight of blood can't bear it. My husband is so considerate. Wang Wan drank the second spoonful and said, biting her lips and smiling. "Ah. You tremble at the sight of blood because you're excited. Drink, drink. If you like it, I'll make it for you every day in the future. Don't be busy today. Someone is in charge of the army. Ask Huzi to come over and surround us. Trespassers, kill." Zhang Xiaobao just remembered that Wang Wan was not the weak woman who had been conquered by him last night. She was a master who killed people without batting an eyelid like him, let alone a chicken. Thinking of what he said just now, he looked up at the sky and pondered. Wang Wan gently took the spoon and drank it. After a while, she saw that Zhang Xiaobao was still looking at the sky in a daze. She nudged him with her leg and said, "Xiao Bao, don't buy any more. Shaoli has already made too many concessions. He let you use the city wall of Chang and to wrap the golden wire and let you mobilize the army. We can't break the rules of the game." I know. We follow the same rules. There are gains and losses. I'll let him give me the yellow mountain himself, and I'll give it to you. I'll build a cable car and train you like Sue Dodgy. What's so good about wine and meat? It's too tasteless. Zhang Xiaobao came back to his senses. He held his chin with both hands and looked into the distance. After the meal, Wang Wan went to find the Jiang Wang clan and her mother to have a private chat. Zhang Xiaobao buried himself in writing a plan. After thinking about it, he had people put the tools that were not used much in the house into a small cart and pulled it to the hibiscus garden. As soon as he entered the hibiscus garden, Luo Bin, who had been waiting at the door for a long time, greeted him. My young master Zhang, you're finally here. Her Majesty hasn't eaten anything since morning. She's just drinking tea. Why didn't you call me? Zhang Xiaobao said hypocritically. Call you. I wanted to go, but Her Majesty said that if you don't want to live, you can go. She said that life is short. Xiaobao is more reserved. Maybe he would find a chance to do something behind the scenes. But who knows, Cuckoo might kill him on the spot. Luo Bin smiled bitterly. Chapter 894. Li Longji sat there and patiently looked at the teapot. There were 6 types of desserts on the small table in front of him, as well as 6 plates of preserved fruits, sunflower seeds, and hu beans. None of them were missing, but there were no traces of them being touched. It seemed that no one ate them. Zhang Xiaobao casually glanced around and pretended not to see such a situation. He couldn't possibly ignore his wife and accompany others. Seeing that there were no stools nearby, he directly squatted on the ground and looked up at the sky. You don't say. There are a few pieces of cloth blocking the sky, so it's much cooler down there. Does Your Majesty feel that the summer heat is gradually disappearing? We feel extremely hungry. Does official Zhang feel that your waist is sore and your legs are weak? Li Longji felt nauseous just from smelling the tea. He could understand Zhang Xiaobao's feelings, but when he thought about how he was starving in the hibiscus garden while Zhang Xiaobao was enjoying himself with his wife in his arms, he felt that it was unfair, so he deliberately said this. Oh, this subject is preparing to cook for Your Majesty. Could it be that Your Majesty has ever felt that your waist is sore and your legs are weak? This subject has never felt that way. This subject has a plan to make a fortune. Your Majesty, please take a look. This subject will go and cook. Zhang Xiaobao stood up and had someone pass the written proposal to Li Longji. Then, he walked towards the kitchen utensils. In order to buy the right to operate Mount Huangshan, he still had to cook. Li Longji was indeed hungry. He anxiously watched as Zhang Xiaobao went to cook. He pushed the teapot to the side, wanting to take some honey money to eat. After hesitating for a moment, he restrained himself and took the proposal and began to read it word by word. Zhang Xiaobao's large spoon made a clattering sound while Li Longji flipped through the pages. In contrast to the quiet environment, it was very harmonious. When Zhang Xiaobao finished cooking the 3rd dish and had someone bring it over, Li Longji had already forgotten that it was time to eat. His eyes were still staring at the proposal, captivated by the contents of the proposal. It wasn't until Zhang Xiaobao finished preparing 4 dishes and 1 soup that Li Longji, who noticed that there was no more commotion, finally came out of the proposal. He looked at the dishes on the table, the proposal, and then at Zhang Xiaobao. After pondering for a while, he asked, Xiaobao, have you eaten? Yes. They're all for His Majesty. No one stole them. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he glanced at where Gao Lishir was. There were a lot of fruit peels in the trash bin next to him, as well as oiled paper used to wrap food. It was obvious that Gao Lishir had not starved with Li Longji. Li Longji picked up a piece of pig intestine and threw it into his mouth. It didn't have a bad smell, as someone had already cleaned it up. When there were no chili peppers, Zhang Xiaobao would never make such things for Li Longji, nor would he let the people in the palace purchase such ingredients. After eating 2 in a row, Li Longji drank some wine. He put down his chopsticks and asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Xiaobao, today, you came here to talk about the things that provide shade from the sky, not the tourism joint development plan. Do you really want to block it for 10 days? Then last night, cuckoo already, right? The things in the sky are no longer important. Your goal has been achieved. You want me to lie to my wife?" This time, Zhang Xiaobao didn't even bother to address him as a courtesy. In order to show proper etiquette, he had prepared a series of things. He couldn't just withdraw the things before they were done. "Xiaobao, His Majesty is worried that someone will start the fire. Otherwise, not to mention 10 days, even if you block it for a month, His Majesty won't let you withdraw it." Gao Lishir helped to explain. "Even if someone starts the fire, we still have to block it for 10 days. Zhang Xiaobao insisted on his decision. Li Longji looked up at the sky again, put down his chopsticks, and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "But if there is a fire, you will be responsible for all the losses. You will have to pay for every place that is burned. If someone is burned, I will punish you. How can you disregard the safety of the people of Chang'an for your own personal gain?" "Ah!" Zhang Xiaobao choked for a moment. Seeing that Li Longji was beginning to talk seriously, his attitude changed. He said, "Your Majesty, please don't be anxious. I have a way to prevent others from doing anything." "What way?" "Are you going to let the soldiers keep watch every day? Keep an eye on the residents. Serve your 6,000 hot air balloons." Li Longji picked up the spoon again, scooped up a piece of mashed potato, and held it to his mouth. Zhang Xiaobao waved at a palace maid beside him and pointed at the tray in her hands. There were fruits on it. The palace maid happily walked over and only stopped when she was about to squeeze into Zhang Xiaobao's body. She said softly, "Young Master Zhang, please. Call me Jidushi Zhang." Zhang Xiaobao corrected her and shrank back. The palace maid was too enthusiastic. "Yes, young Master Zhang." The palace maid bowed her head and replied. Li Longji was still waiting for Zhang Xiaobao's reply. When he saw the palace maid's reaction, he was stunned. When did Zhang Xiaobao hook up with the palace maid beside him? Gao Lishir, who understood Li Longji, saw the emperor in a daze and immediately understood what was going on. He whispered into his ear, "Xiaobao's extravagance for cuckoo has made many women yearn for him. Lu He also owes Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family a favor. Lu He's family is in the capital." A few days ago, she sent a letter saying that her father was seriously ill. She went to the Imperial Academy of Medicine to seek treatment, but no one could treat her. She also couldn't get medicine. Just as she was feeling anxious, news secretly came from outside the palace that her father had been admitted to the Chang'an branch of the Dei Hospital in the capital. The Imperial Academy of Medicine is not responsible for this matter. If we want to pursue, we need to investigate Lu He's secret communication with outsiders. However, it is impossible to prevent this kind of thing. Therefore, it is better to sort it out. I will open up a little and allow people close to the family to send letters. They must first be checked and read in person. The letters cannot be sent outside the palace. Li Longji nodded gently. He also understood that this kind of thing couldn't be prevented. He had used it before, but he had never heard of a dynasty that could prevent any news from leaking out. Opening up a mouth would make it much easier to manage. The Imperial Academy of Medicine is not wrong. There are too many palace maids and miscellaneous people in the palace. Everyone's request will be answered. I'm afraid there won't be enough time. However, how can the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family be so busy? As soon as the news came in, the other side immediately sent it to the hospital. If it wasn't the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family, but another person or power, and they imitated the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family's way of doing things, they would let palace maids and miscellaneous people assassinate me. Would I still have to be on tenterhooks every day? The officials of the Imperial Academy of Medicine also have disciples. Why not wait for people with inferior status in the palace to ask for help and then send their disciples? First, they can save people. Second, they can be familiar with the matter. If they encounter difficulties, they can ask their masters for advice and discuss with each other. We can't chill the hearts of the people below us. We don't expect everyone in the palace to be like the inner court of the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. When in danger, they will fight to the death for their master. At the very least, they won't turn around and attack, right? If you don't believe me, we can beat Xiaobao with a stick right now and have someone send it over ruthlessly. When they return, Xiaobao will definitely only have superficial wounds. What do you think? Li Longji felt a bit uncomfortable. The Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family reacted too quickly to his matters in the palace. Yes, the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family had always been the most efficient, but they shouldn't have used it in this aspect. If it was another power instead of the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family, what would happen? Gao Lisher nodded his head fiercely. He admitted that even if the emperor ordered someone to beat Xiaobao ruthlessly, the final result would only be superficial wounds. Even if he didn't say anything and didn't give him face, the result would still be the same regardless of who in the palace carried out the punishment. Yes, Your Majesty. This subject will arrange it in a moment. Your Majesty, if you don't eat now, the food will get cold. Gao Lisher reminded the emperor. In fact, he was telling the emperor that Xiaobao was still waiting. Zhang Xiaobao was indeed waiting. Waiting for the two of them to finish talking was not a good feeling. It was hard to get rid of the favor of a beauty. The out-of-season watermelon on the tray was cut into pieces with seeds on it. Right now, it was still impossible to research a seedless fruit. Lu He held the tray in one hand and a small piece of bamboo in the other. She pulled out the seeds one by one and then raised her head to look hopefully at Zhang Xiaobao, waiting for him to eat. Zhang Xiaobao didn't want to rush over with a cold face, but he couldn't stand the other's gaze. He could only slow down and hope that Li Longji and his godfather would finish talking quickly and think of him. Li Longji turned his head to look. Of course, Zhang Xiaobao was looking at him with a bitter face. He coughed lightly and said, Lu He, why don't you leave the palace and be Xiaobao's second wife's maid? What do you think? Lu He's face turned red. She lowered her head and softly replied, This servant is reluctant to leave Your Majesty. If Your Majesty really, Your Majesty, where was this subject just now? I remember, it's the 6,000 hot air balloons in the sky. Your Majesty, listen to this subject in detail. Zhang Xiaobao didn't dare to let Lu He continue. Otherwise, if he went back and brought one back, what would Wang Wan think? He quickly interrupted and didn't look at Lu He's resentful expression. When Lu He slowly returned to her position, Li Longji looked at Zhang Xiaobao and waited for him to talk about how to deal with the problem in the sky. At the same time, he continued to fill his stomach. When Zhang Xiaobao came, he was already prepared. He immediately said, This subject's plan is about the tourism alliance. Ordinary people don't have enough money to follow the tour group for many days and visit the mountains and lakes. Therefore, it is only prepared for the rich. It is mentioned that newlyweds can go on a half-price honeymoon tour. Ordinary people can go to the nearby tourist attractions, and wealthy people can go with the tour group. However, there are so many places, and this subject can't manage all of them. It's not that this subject can't manage, but if too much money is gathered, it won't be good for the country. Even if this subject is full, there are still many people who are hungry. Therefore, this subject intends to find people to develop a joint venture and share the benefits. This year, this subject is participating in the autumn imperial examinations. This subject needs a good reputation. Even if this subject has to pretend, this subject has to pretend well. Otherwise, this subject's moral character will be damaged, and it will be inconvenient for this subject to do things in the future. Your Majesty, eat less mashed potatoes, they are not easy to digest. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, Li Longji's attention was completely on Zhang Xiaobao. He scooped up mashed potatoes with the spoon in his hand, causing Zhang Xiaobao to worry for him. If he had known this would happen, he would have added some eggplant to the stew, or at least made the sauce a little saltier. Oh, Xiaobao's mashed potatoes are not bad. They can be used as a dish and as a meal. In the future, when there are more of them, they can be sent to wherever there is a disaster. If the children don't eat in time for school, they can be used to fill their stomachs. Xiaobao, continue speaking. Li Longji did not feel uncomfortable. He put down his spoon and picked up his chopsticks, continuing to eat other things. A palace maid poured wine for him at the side. However, Zhang Xiaobao suddenly said, Your Majesty, this subject does not intend to let the children eat this when they are in school. This subject is conflicted about this matter, and it is inconvenient for this subject to state clearly. If there is a merchant who does not wish to continue with the Chaoyang operation, this subject will take over and form a local chamber of commerce to take care of the children's meals. However, when the children grow up and study, the merchant who does not participate will not be allowed to recruit such people. After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao seemed to be trying to suppress the unhappiness in his heart. He took a few deep breaths before continuing. This subject has brought the 6,000 hot air balloons for two reasons. One is to make Cuckoo happy, and the other is to rent them to other merchants to advertise and operate. They can be used to transport passengers to view the scenery from above. They will be rented to merchants, but my people will be in charge of controlling them. They will be distributed to various places. Firstly, the exact situation of the hot air balloons will not be revealed. Secondly, the people in charge of controlling the balloons will be able to collect information at any time. They will be able to see the appearance of various places from above and listen to what the tourists say. Today, this subject will release an announcement to allow the merchants to choose which hot air balloon to rent. Whoever rents it will be in charge of looking after the hot air balloon from below. After 10 days, this subject will bring the merchants to the designated place. This will also allow the merchants to understand how long the hot air balloon can fly in the sky and how stable it is. This way, there will be no need to send people to look after the balloons. This subject is also preparing to link up several large mountains, lakes, and rivers to form the largest tourism group in Great Tang. The management and taxes will be unified. Even if someone does not do a good job, there will be a way to deal with them. Zhang Xiaobao pointed at the hot air balloons in the sky. Even after his explanation, all of the hot air balloons would be distributed to make money and gather information. This was also what Wang Wan wanted to ask. Why did he have so many hot air balloons? Li Longji had already forgotten to eat when he heard this. Wei Wei opened her mouth and pointed at Zhang Xiaobao. He said, This subject knows that your thoughts are not that simple. You promised Cuckoo that you would cover her for 10 days, so you built 6,000 hot air balloons. But you were afraid that you would lose too much money, so you rented them out to others. In other words, other people are paying for you to curry favor with Cuckoo. At this time, you are still thinking about making money. Xiaobao, not bad, this subject is under your management of the Great Tang Bank. This subject is not afraid of losing money. No, this is not what I am thinking. I am thinking for the merchants of Great Tang. Do I lack this little bit of money? If I treat others to meals for 10 days, how much would that cost? All the people in Chang and can only go out, but not in. I just want to look at the cuckoo. I can't hold anything else in my heart. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head vigorously and refused to admit it. You are really treating others to meals and not in. Li Longji was used to not taking Zhang Xiaobao's words seriously. Yes. Really? Really? Speak louder. Say it like you're in the right. Really? Really? Continue. This subject will not ask about this. Li Longji understood that Zhang Xiaobao would not be so kind as to lose money just for fun. He could not imagine how Cuckoo would feel when she found out. Would she be happy to have a husband who could make money no matter what he did? Or would she be angry that her husband had other tricks up his sleeve when he gave her gifts? Okay, continue. When the time comes, this subject will link up all the places of Great Tang with good scenery. Depending on the situation, this subject will come up with a half-year inspection tour, a quarter tour, a month tour, a half-month tour, and other detailed plans for the tourists to choose from. For example, the 5 peaks cannot be left out. For example, Dongting Lake, Poyang Lake, Taihu Lake, Chao Lake, and other lakes cannot be left out. When the time comes, we will work together with the merchants to improve and make money together. No beautiful place can be left out. Zhang Xiaobao took out a map from his bosom, folded it, and spread it on the ground for Li Longji to see. He had circled all the places with slightly better scenery with a red pen. Li Longji looked up. The other places were fine, but he noticed that there was a place in the Jiangnan West Road where many rivers were marked with red lines, but there was a large empty space in the middle. It was very awkward. Upon closer inspection, he recognized it and pointed at it with his chopsticks. Isn't there a Mount Huangshan here? Wouldn't it be a waste to not circle it in? Your Majesty is asking about Mount Huangshan. Mount Huangshan is good, but if we let the local merchants or other merchants develop it, it will cost too much. The losses outweigh the gains. The investment is not proportional to the income. Zhang Xiaobao casually explained. Li Longji nodded at Wei Wei and suddenly asked, Then what about you? Can't you do it? Your Majesty, you have already bought many places for this subject. Although they are only in name, this subject can still manage them. Wouldn't it be bad to have another emperor? This subject can't take out anything else to give your Majesty. Zhang Xiaobao did not say the words, exchange of interests, but his meaning was clear. Do you think I lack these things? One more Mount Huangshan is not much, one less is not much. Take it and link it together. If you leave out one Mount Huangshan, it will be very uncomfortable. At this time, Li Longji was thinking about how lively it would be when the tour groups were linked together. How much tax would it be, and how convenient it would be for him to walk around. The Mount Huangshan on the map was not big, and the rivers with red lines seemed to be very thick. He waved his hand and gave it away. Zhang Xiaobao was stunned for a moment. After a few breaths, he recovered and hurriedly said, This subject thanks your Majesty. Your Majesty, this subject has a supplementary plan regarding the risk assessment and development route of Mount Huangshan. Your Majesty, please take a look. As he spoke, Zhang Xiaobao took out a paper from his chest. Looking at the thickness of the paper, it was estimated that a lot of thought had been put into this plan for Mount Huangshan. This time, it was Li Longji's turn to be stunned. Wait, Xiaobao, don't be anxious. What did you say just now? I said that I gave Mount Huangshan to this subject, and this subject gave it to Cuckoo. The specific development plan is all here. Your Majesty, please take a look. Zhang Xiaobao took 2 steps forward and forced the plan to Li Longji. Chapter 895. When he came out of the hibiscus garden, Zhang Xiaobao was holding a stack of books, which were heavy and heavy. They were given to him by Li Longji after he got the rights to develop Mount Huangshan and the authorship. Li Longji was in a good mood and said that the questions for this year's autumn imperial examinations would probably come from these books. Li Longji asked him to read more in case his results were bad. Zhang Xiaobao was so grateful that he was about to cry. He looked at the Mount Huangshan on the map and kept promising that he would read and understand the books. Young master, do you want to read books? The person in charge of waiting outside saw Zhang Xiaobao come out and took the books. He asked as he walked to the carriage. When we came, Xiaobei said that there was no paper plane left. I happened to see that His Majesty had useless books, so I asked for them and brought them back for Xiaobei. When you bring them back, if Xiao Yuan sees them, tell him not to memorize them. It's not worth wasting energy. Zhang Xiaobao patted the dust on his hands and opened the curtain. He ordered the servant as he sat inside. The servant glanced at the cover of the book. There was an obvious mark of the palace on it. It was a book bestowed by the emperor. He said seriously, I've noted it down. His Majesty is really good. He even bestowed this book to Xiaobei. Of course, His Majesty is very wise. Today, he gave me Mount Huangshan. Later, I will pay to repair the canal. Yesterday, Qian Fan came over and damaged it. I estimate that he will have to give me more than 100,000 strings of coins. Zhang Xiaobao seemed to be muttering to the servant and to himself. The servant knew about this kind of exchange and nodded. Is the naming rights of Mount Huangshan worth so much? There is also a large area around it, as well as the development and use of various resources. If you really want to talk about value, 100,000 strings of coins is not worth it. Let's go back. When Zhang Xiaobao came, he planned to buy Huangshan. He was ready to fight with Li Longji. But who knew that Li Longji didn't do as he expected? He directly agreed. He was probably confused because he was hungry. Although Zhang Xiaobao said that he was giving it to Li Longji for free, he couldn't take it for free. However, he also couldn't continue to give Li Longji the money to buy the Yellow Mountain. A win in a fight was a win, so he could only compensate him in other ways. It just so happened that the Chaozhou Canal hadn't been properly cleaned for 2 years. He used the excuse of 1,000 sails into the Chaozhou Canal to pay for the Yellow Mountain. The servant who received Zhang Xiaobao found a place to put the book away and returned to the driver's seat. He cracked his whip in the air, reminding the people who were secretly protecting him to leave. Only then did he shout "Jia" and urged the horse forward. He leaned back and reported to Zhang Xiaobao through the window. Young master, someone from master's side came just now. He said that the railway has been laid out outside of Chang'an. He asked if it would be built in sections or all at once. If all at once, it would definitely affect the pedestrians, and it would take too much time to do so. Yes. I know. Let's talk about it when we get home. We have to build it together. That way, we can have a bigger impact and let people know about the railway and the train. With the train, the roads in and around Chang'an will have to be rebuilt. It's not good to always let horses run around. Bicycles can also be used to transport goods by manpower. Now that the technology is good enough, we don't have to continue hiding it. We can also promote the overseas merchants to obtain rubber. Zhang Xiaobao just sat in the carriage and did the planning with the coachman. He didn't feel that there was anything abrupt. The coachman either thought or nodded. He listened very seriously. He knew that this was a rare opportunity. Usually, there were very few opportunities to get the young master and the young lady to talk. If he listened more, he could learn more. When he went back, he could exchange ideas with others and gain more knowledge. It wasn't easy to be a servant in the Zhang family and the Wang family. One had to be born in a village. The few Zhuangzi in the Zhang family and the Wang family, as well as the original villagers in Zhuangzi of the Gu family, had to be literate. They also had to study daily and not ask questions. Any qualified servant was as knowledgeable as the steward in the Prime Minister's house. The coachman was now thinking of ways to improve the driving ability of the carriage and the feelings of the people riding it. After walking for a while, Zhang Xiaobao found that the coachman deliberately slowed down. Not only did he not reprimand him, he sped up his speech so that the coachman could listen more. Actually, to put it bluntly, don't think of what you see as an isolated existence. Even if it doesn't directly affect the matter, you have to think of a way to connect what you see to other aspects. Before Zhang Xiaobao got off the carriage and entered the house, he said this to the coachman. The coachman stood respectfully beside the carriage and watched as Zhang Xiaobao entered. He said, "Thank you, young master. I will remember." The people standing at the door looked at the coachman enviously. They knew that the young master must have taught the coachman many things. It was a pity that they didn't hear it and couldn't ask the young master. The young master was very busy. "Here, take Huang Shan." After returning to the courtyard, Zhang Xiaobao went straight to his mother and placed a piece of paper in front of Wang Wan. Wang Wan didn't look at the paper. Instead, she looked at Zhang Xiaobao and smiled sweetly. "My husband is so awesome. I'm going to take a good look at it tonight. I'm going to stay with my mother and make her happy." Zhang Xiaobao's passion died down in an instant. He had just found out what it was like yesterday, and today he was going to. "Xiaobao, Cuckoo will stay with mother tonight. You should have a good sleep. When you have time, you should go and see your siblings. Xiao Bei has been bullying Xiao Yuan recently. Go and ask him what's going on. Xiao Yuan is also giving in to Xiao Bei." Since Zhang Xiaobao couldn't fight for it, Zhang Wang clan spoke. Zhang Xiaobao looked at his wife and then at his mother. He said, "Okay, I will go and see Xiao Bei. How can he always bully Xiao Yuan? Cuckoo, you should sleep early." When he walked out of the door and headed towards his younger brother and sister, Xiaobao finally reacted. He stood there and muttered, "Isn't Xiao Bei always bullying Xiao Yuan? He's used to it. If he doesn't bully Xiao Yuan one day, Xiao Yuan will probably feel uncomfortable too. He just wants to send me away." In the courtyard, Wang Wan watched Zhang Xiaobao leave. She turned around and said to Zhang Wang clan, "Mother, should I go back and talk to him? What's there to talk about? He is already an adult, but he doesn't know anything. He is staying with mother. Is this a map of Mount Huangshan?" Zhang Wang clan acted like an elder and looked at the paper again. Wang Wan happily picked up the paper and said, "This is the proof from the emperor." Xiao Bao said in the morning, at noon, before he woke up, he said that he would buy Mount Huangshan for me. That's more like it. There are many good things in Mount Huangshan. In the future, don't let others steal it. Zhang Wang clan said with satisfaction. Chapter 896. The next day, the railway began to be fully constructed in front of Chang'an, which made it very inconvenient for many people to come and go. For a time, rumors started to spread and there were many criticisms. If it was in the past, the construction workers would have already cursed, chased away, or fought. Today, they didn't dare to do so because Xiao Hai wanted to watch and collect data. Xiao Zhu also wanted to draw today's scene. Such a lively and interesting matter, naturally, Xiao Bei couldn't miss it. She deliberately put on her official robes, afraid that others wouldn't know her identity. Others sat in a carriage, got off, walked, or stood. She rode a bicycle with wide wheels, the kind with 4 wheels, with 2 small wheels at the back to prevent falling. She was afraid that the road would be bad. When she swayed around, all the supervisors of the Ministry of Works trembled. Not to mention hitting those eyesores, they didn't even dare to speak loudly. They could only persuade the people with kind words, saying that this project was an important project for the imperial court and that it would be convenient to use trains in the future. The people didn't know what a train was, whether it looked good or not, so they didn't dare to say anything about the imperial court. Privately, there were many rumors. Some people said that the imperial court wanted to block this road so that they would have to pay when they wanted to use it. Some people said that this thing was built to drive out the people of Chang'an and let them live outside because the city couldn't fit them. Because Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan vigorously promoted the Chaoyang action, all the children of the families were able to go to school. The more they learned, the more they knew. The children would tell their parents about the imperial court's laws. Therefore, the originally ignorant people were not as afraid of the imperial court as they were of scourges. When the rumor started, the officials immediately felt that it was troublesome. They were afraid that it would spread to the emperor's ears and he would punish them for not doing a good job. Just as the officials were thinking of a way to solve this problem, a person from the Ministry of Works saw Xiao Bei riding back and forth. He had a bright idea and shouted, "Don't be noisy, listen to me. This railway is specially built for the train between the clouds and the water. Between the clouds and the water needs to be used to transport goods. The imperial court helped to build it, not for the imperial court to use it to facilitate transportation and send off guests in the future." Once this shout was made, the people around the construction site suddenly fell silent. They all looked at the people from the Ministry of Works. Some were confused, and some were in disbelief. Xiao Bei slammed on the brakes. Fortunately, it had 4 wheels, otherwise, he would have fallen. He pointed at himself and blinked his big eyes. My family." The people from the Ministry of Works nodded seriously at Xiao Bei, then shouted to the others, "This is Xiao Bei from the Zhang family. She's here to look after the projects at home." A trace of confusion appeared in Xiao Bei's eyes as he nodded. When the surrounding commoners heard that it was between the clouds and the water who was going to do something, their voices immediately disappeared. Then, they immediately became louder. None of them were in a hurry to pass by. Instead, they surrounded the construction site and looked at it. Their mouths were full of praises for between the clouds and the water. They looked as if they were waiting for the tracks to be laid quickly. Xiao Yuan ran over from a dozen steps away and pulled Xiao Bei, saying, "Xiao Bei, are you stupid? What does the railway have to do with our family? Your father is a minister in the Ministry of Works. That's official business." The train is not under the banner of "Between the Clouds and the Water." Xiao Bei turned his head to look at Xiao Yuan and suddenly laughed. He laughed very happily. "Xiao Yuan, so you're not stupid. I thought you'd become stupid from reading too much." "I know. I just wanted to see how important my family is in other people's hearts. Otherwise, I wouldn't have nodded. It looks pretty good." Xiao Yuan's face darkened. He let go of Xiao Bei, lowered his head, and walked back. As he walked, he muttered, "Superfluous move, superfluous move. Official fan, how can I be so easily used by others?" Xiao Bei tilted his head and thought for a while. Then, he rode the bike forward. The person from the Ministry of Works who had shouted just now heard the voices of the surrounding people and sighed helplessly. He shook his head and said, "Between the clouds and the water. No one can stop it. It's the first time in history that a business has been done like this. At this time, someone came over. Brother Xian, this move of yours is really amazing. Why don't you let others shout as well? That's exactly what I was thinking, the person replied. While waiting for the method to be passed to another construction site, Xiao Bei happened to ride his bike there. It was very coincidental that he was used by others. At the construction site on the other side, Xiao Hai, the person who collected the data, saw his sister going there, so he took the initiative to walk in the other direction. When others used him, he also nodded to show that he admitted it. After Xiao Yuan saw this for a while and understood, he felt that it was very strange. Xiao Hai, who usually did not speak, was actually so meticulous. They were indeed biological siblings. With an excuse, the construction site sped up. There were even some commoners who helped to carry the sleepers. This scene was seen by people who had just arrived in Chang and from other countries. They were very puzzled. They also knew that between the clouds and the water belonged to the Zhang family and the Wang family. They also knew how powerful and wealthy between the clouds and the water was. However, how could they be compared to the imperial court? After asking people who had been here for a long time, they understood that the commoners were willing to help not because between the clouds and the water was rich, but because between the clouds and the water liked to spend money, especially the free delivery of babies and the free care of babies. In addition, the Chaoyang operation was the initiator and supervisor of these two reasons why the commoners were willing to help. The news quickly spread to Li Longji's ears. Your Majesty, this matter cannot be delayed, Gao Lisher advised. I understand. Xiao Bao and the Cuckoo family also do not wish for this to happen. However, we cannot manage both at the same time. The Chaoyang operation is simple. We just need to fork out some money for the children's food, printing of books, clothes, ink, and so on. If we really calculate, it is a big deal. If we throw in millions of strings of coins, it won't make much of a splash. How many children do we have in Tang? How many schools do we need? Li Longji also knew that this matter had to be solved, but it was not easy. If the schools had not reached this level when they came out, they would have strict requirements for what they ate every day. They had to eat meat, vegetables, and so on. With the current financial situation of the imperial court, they could afford it. However, looking at the current situation, once they took over, they would have to follow the original rules. How much would that cost? Especially Xiao Bao's attitude. Yesterday, he had only mentioned that the children should eat potatoes, and Xiao Bao had reacted so strongly. What was wrong with potatoes? Then Gao Lisher asked. He didn't finish his sentence, but his meaning was clear. Medical treatment. Take over the medical treatment. Send a portion of the money that each county hands in and turn it into medical treatment funds. Let Xiao Bei and the others arrange for people to patrol the area. If anyone dares to make a move, kill them. For the poor areas in the county, we will compensate them. This is a matter of the imperial court, we can't always let them be in charge. Chapter 897. Xiao Bao, in the future, we won't allow anyone to enter our house. So what if it's someone sent by Li Longji? He insisted on seeing us in the middle of the night. His attitude is good, but don't he know that he's disturbing us? After waking up in the morning, Wang Wan complained to Zhang Xiaobao before she even washed up. Last night, when the two of them were talking about their private matters, someone barged in from outside. She didn't know who was so free to make a proposal about free medical treatment. Wang Wan was very surprised after reading it. Free medical treatment. That was a matter of good countries. She and Xiao Bao didn't realize it at that time. It wasn't that they didn't have the ability, but that they didn't have the heart. It was clearly a place that had the money and could do it, but they couldn't. The local officials couldn't control the hospital at all. If they really wanted to control the hospital, there was only one result, and that was that they would be transferred. The benefits involved in the medical treatment were too much. The people at the top were also powerless. There were also internal strife within a party. It was impossible to change the foundation of society. Therefore, Wang Wan felt that Li Longji's thinking was too simple. The transportation problems involved and the different income from different places couldn't be solved with a simple sentence or idea. In addition, she had rested for a day and night. Yesterday, they could continue to do things as husband and wife. At the crucial moment, they were disturbed. Then, Xiao Bao started to perfect the proposal sent by Li Longji. He worked all night and had nothing to do with it. Only then did she complain. "Honey, this can't do. If something big really happens, won't it be delayed? Since we have chosen this path, we have to understand what will happen. I can see that Li Longji wants to be a good emperor now. After the fall imperial examination, we might be transferred to the capital. Won't the 3 northeastern provinces have to be arranged for a satisfactory person? Who will be sent? If outsiders go there, they won't be familiar with the local situation. The local people are familiar with the situation but don't know what the outside world is like. It's not the 3 northeastern provinces of our time. Now, other than the ethnic minorities, the local people go there from other places. If I don't perfectly Longji's plan, once he really does it, there will definitely be problems. If I perfect it, he might ask us more often. How about this, we'll torture him a few times and let him understand that it's not good to disturb people at night. He might not disturb us so easily in the future." Zhang Xiaobao was also gritting his teeth. Last night, they were supposed to talk and be intimate with each other. In the end, it was all over. Li Longji's bullshit plan gave him a headache. He didn't know what Li Longji was thinking. Free medical treatment for all. It wasn't that he didn't have the money, it was that he didn't have the manpower and the herbs. Nowadays, most of the diseases were treated with Chinese medicine. The only change was that there was more normal saline and disinfectant to perform simple surgery. Chinese medicine wasn't easy to come out. Some herbs had to be waited for to grow. The number of doctors was also not enough. The real doctors were all trained in Huaiyuan County's Dei Medical College. There were only a few graduates every year. Chinese medicine wasn't easy to learn, just like Chinese wasn't easy to understand. It needed to be settled down, so Chinese medicine was easy to decline. What Zhang Xiaobao wanted to do was to change the plan and divide it into various stages. At the same time, he added new plans. For example, how much land each place should have to plant Chinese medicine. The ginseng in the garden couldn't be compared to the 100-year-old ginseng in Changbai Mountain and Korea, but the content was about the same. Once he was busy, he worked from night till dawn. Xiaobao was so angry that he almost choked. Wang Wan took the plan and looked at it. She leaned her head on Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder and said, "I didn't expect you to be so meticulous. You even considered the small problems. What do you think is wrong with Li Longji? Originally, we were in charge of delivering the children and taking care of the babies. Why did he take over? Do you still need to ask me? He's worried that if we take control of this, the imperial court will lose control. As for the details, he can just let someone else ask." Zhang Xiaobao was actually puzzled. In the past, he and Wang Wan were in charge. Li Longji suddenly intervened. This was a little thought-provoking. At this time, Xiaobei and the 9 children came in wearing beautiful clothes. To be precise, under Xiaobei's leadership, the other 8 people had to come. Xiao Hai was the elder brother. He usually didn't like to talk, but he silently supported Xiao Bei, his younger sister. Xiao Zhu followed Xiao Hai. Xiao Zhu also understood that if she married Xiao Hai in the future, she would listen to the adults from the beginning. This had been instilled in her. The four of them gradually understood their own identities. They were led by Zhang Xiaobao and the Wang family. Xiao Yuan was used to being bullied. If Xiao Bei didn't bully him one day, he wouldn't be able to live. He always felt that something was missing, and he was very uncomfortable. The 9 people formed such a strange group, which made the Tang officials tremble with fear. When Xiao Bei arrived, Wang Wan immediately moved her head away from Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder. She smiled at Xiao Bei and asked, "What's the matter? You came early in the morning." Xiao Bei smiled foolishly and jumped into Wang Wan's arms. She looked at her elder brother and said, "Yesterday, we helped the Ministry of Works. They used my family's name to make others work and make way. I was thinking, could you give me a carriage called a children's carriage? Only children can sit in it." When she said this, the shrewd Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were stunned at the same time. Then, they looked at each other and understood everything. Did someone use the imperial court's name to pave the tracks yesterday, but it didn't go well? Then, they took out our family's name and changed it. Zhang Xiaobao even guessed the general situation. Xiao Bei nodded. "Yes, I even helped, so I can't help for nothing. There has to be a children's carriage. Otherwise, I'll use all my strength to catch people. It's impossible for there to be no mistakes." Zhang Xiaobao's brows furrowed and opened a few times. In the end, he didn't say anything to his younger siblings. They were still young and didn't understand many things. If he told them too much, they wouldn't be able to understand. However, Wang Wan smiled and kissed Xiao Bei. She said, "Our Xiao Bei is still the best. How should we arrange the children's carriage in the future? The same seats as the adults. If the children are too young, who will take care of them? You have to think about it carefully. If the children are young and need the adults to take care of them, then when the adults enter the carriage, will it still be a children's carriage?" Ah! Xiao Bei's enthusiasm was extinguished by a large basin of cold water. How could she have thought of so many things? She turned her head and looked at Xiao Yuan in confusion. She lowered her head and answered, "I haven't thought about it yet. I'll go think about it now." "Then go quickly. Remember to think carefully. Otherwise, there won't be a carriage." When Wang Wan saw Xiao Bei's undisguised expression, she liked her immensely. So annoying. Children are all insensible. If they don't want to think about us adults, I'll go and discuss it. Xiao Bei slid down from Wang Wan's arms and ran off with Xiao Yuan. The others naturally followed. Before Xiao Hai left, he turned his head and gave his brother and sister a helpless expression. Seeing his younger brother and sister walk far away, Zhang Xiaobao finally could not help but laugh. "Sometimes, I really don't know if I like them because of my responsibility or because they are cute. It's very contradictory. You just don't act like an older brother." I saw Xiao Hai's notes the day before yesterday. Do you know what he was doing? He was actually calculating the ratio of production and investment. Don't look at how young he is. He actually wants to take responsibility. The responsibility of being Xiao Bei, Xiao Yuan, and Xiao Zhu's older brother is all because of your influence. Wang Wan stuck her head out and looked at her younger brother and sister walking further and further away. She sighed. Yes, sometimes silence does not mean ignorance. Xiao Hai is under a lot of pressure. He wants to imitate us, but he doesn't know that the things we experience are actually the most obedient and sensible children. It just depends on whether the adults know how to educate them. Let's go. Let's tidy up, eat, and walk around the streets. I finally know why Li Longji wants the imperial court to be in charge of medical treatment. If I'm not wrong, he also wants to take over education. It's just that the imperial court's finances are unable to support it. The day before yesterday, he actually said that potatoes are good. He wants the children to eat potatoes, and they can be used as both a meal and a dish. I didn't agree. If I really agreed, you wouldn't have met me in the first place. Why would I bother to go back? When I was young, I was already sick of eating potatoes. Eating too much of that stuff will suppress the stomach and make me vomit acid. Zhang Xiaobao closed the proposal and stood up, stretching his back as he spoke. Wang Wan hugged Zhang Xiaobao's waist. Yes, I will listen to my husband. My husband is the sky. I really don't know how this world gave birth to such a freak like you. You understand everything, but you still don't change your temper. Your thoughts are hard to guess. In summer, Chang'an was supposed to be stuffy and hot. The sun was scorching, making people feel uncomfortable. However, Chang'an was slightly different today. It was still stuffy, but there was not much sunlight. It was all shady and cool. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan put on makeup and walked hand in hand on the streets of Chang'an. Looking at the young couples holding hands, they couldn't tell what they were feeling. It wasn't like this in the past. Who would hold hands for no reason? Especially in the past 2 days, there were too many couples. The two of them didn't need to ask to know the reason. Wang Wan looked at Zhang Xiaobao sweetly. Xiaobao, it's all your fault. You had to give out so many things. Look, you've stimulated others. They all like to hold hands. When we were young, I shouldn't have let you hold hands all the time. Many people are now together because of us. Shouldn't you be responsible? Who should I be responsible for? You or them? Zhang Xiaobao squeezed Wang Wan's hand and asked. You should be responsible for yourself. It's been sunny for the past 2 days. Let's see what you'll do when it rains. Wang Wan struggled slightly but couldn't break free from Zhang Xiaobao's hand. She looked at the sky and said. Zhang Xiaobao was about to continue speaking when he suddenly looked ahead. After looking carefully for a while, he said to Wang Wan, Takashita Junichiro, what's in his arms? Why is he so alert? I'll go get it. You'll get it. How? Wang Wan also saw it at this time. Chapter 898. As he spoke, Zhang Xiaobao went into a nearby shop that sold dry goods. Wang Wan stood at the door in a daze for a while. Zhang Xiaobao came out again. He had changed into a slightly oversized shop assistant's clothes, and there was an extra load on his shoulder. In the front of the load were jujubes, and behind it were walnuts. His shoes were also a size bigger. Wang Wan didn't know how Zhang Xiaobao rubbed his face, but it was darker than before and there were wrinkles on it. Miss, make way. Do you want to buy jujubes? Don't look at the jujubes from last year. They're sweet. It's good to eat them directly. It's also good to steam them with water. Zhang Xiaobao followed the undulation of the load and walked step by step to Wang Wan's side. His voice had changed, and he felt that he had aged more than 10 years. It wasn't like before, when he could still speak with a little childish voice. Wang Wan looked at Zhang Xiaobao in surprise and shook her head reflexively. Forget it if you don't want to buy it. Selling jujubes, sweet jujubes, walnuts with thin skin and fragrant walnuts. Zhang Xiaobao no longer talked to Wang Wan. He shouted and quickly chased after Takashita Junichiro, who had walked a distance away. Wang Wan moved to the side of the road and followed behind Zhang Xiaobao. She was more than 10 steps behind him, and she lowered her head and walked forward. She couldn't let Takashita Junichiro recognize her. Occasionally, she would look at Zhang Xiaobao's slightly hunchbacked figure and the steady way he walked. It was as if she had discovered a new continent. She muttered to herself, when did he learn how to walk like this? I actually didn't notice it after being together for so long. Zhang Xiaobao didn't think about what Wang Wan was thinking. He quickened his pace and caught up with Takashita Junichiro while shouting. When he reached behind him, he wasn't in a hurry to rush forward. Instead, he followed behind and shouted from time to time. His voice was sometimes loud and sometimes soft, giving people the feeling that it was sometimes far and sometimes close. After walking for a while, a carriage came in front of them. It wasn't fast, and it was convertible. This kind of carriage was popular nowadays. It didn't have a complete hood, and it was supported by a translucent gauze to block the sun. At this time, there were 3 people, 1 big and 2 small, sitting in the carriage. The coachman coiled the whip around his neck, looking very relaxed. The carriage approached bit by bit, but it couldn't touch Takashita Junichiro directly. Zhang Xiaobao quickened his pace and came to the right side of Takashita Junichiro. He was still shouting, "Jujubes, sweet jujubes." Then, as if he had just seen the carriage, he hurriedly rushed from the right side of Takashita Junichiro to the left. As he walked, he shouted at the carriage, "Walnuts, selling walnuts, thin walnuts. Buy a few pounds of walnuts for the child." When others saw this, they would think that the person selling walnuts and dried dates wanted to buy from the people in the carriage, so they didn't think much of it. However, Takashita Junichiro felt different. Zhang Xiaobao was in the position in front of him, so the walnut basket behind him inevitably hit him. It was too late for him to stop, so he knocked the basket askew. With the basket askew, Zhang Xiaobao had no choice but to move sideways in order to not drop the carrying pole. When he moved, he happened to hit Takashita Junichiro. Now, the basket in front of him was askew as well. In a short moment, what others saw was that the person selling walnuts and dates adjusted his body at the fastest speed. His reaction was good, but a lot of dates and walnuts still fell out and rolled on the ground. My dates and walnuts. I'm sorry. Zhang Xiaobao cried out with heartache. The carrying pole was still on his shoulders. He wanted to pick up the dates and walnuts, but he felt that it was inappropriate. He helped Takashita Junichiro adjust his clothes and apologized repeatedly. Takashita Junichiro frowned and took 2 steps back. He sighed, "How do you walk? Do you only think about making money? Forget it. After saying this, Takashita Junichiro left. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have time to promote to the people on the bus. He put down the pole and picked up the walnuts and dates one by one. His hands moved very quickly. It was obvious that he often came into contact with the things he was selling. He put the walnuts he picked up back and kept the dates on his body. He couldn't continue to sell them. Otherwise, who would buy dates that were stained with mud? Wang Wan stood 10 steps behind and didn't go forward. She looked at the distant Takashita Junichiro and then looked at Zhang Xiaobao, who was still skillfully picking the dates. She shook her head. "No wonder so many people couldn't catch you. You can even adjust the pupils of your eyes and the corners of your eyes. If I give you more time to disguise yourself, I won't be able to recognize you." At this time, a kind-hearted person came to help him pick up the walnuts. Xiaobao thanked him profusely, and when he was done, he gave the person a handful of walnuts no matter what. When the person accepted, he turned around and continued to peddle his wares as he walked towards the store he just came out of. When Zhang Xiaobao came out again, Wang Wan quickly approached and asked, "What did you feel?" "Feel? I felt. There was a lot of money inside. Judging by the size of the hand, they were all 1,000 strings. According to the thickness, there should be about 121 to 123 strings. There was also an envelope. Here, it's this." Zhang Xiaobao replied to Wang Wan's words. He took out an envelope from his arms and handed it to Wang Wan. Wang Wan opened her mouth in surprise. She didn't take the envelope. Instead, she pointed at Zhang Xiaobao. You just took the things out of his body. And you know how much money is inside. Isn't this the legendary empty-handed hand? That won't do. If I don't practice, I'll be rusty and the opportunity won't be good either. If there's a commotion and he's watching, I won't have to bring the envelope over. I'll read what's written inside and return it to him. But if I just cut the envelope and only took the letter, he'll definitely know that it was stolen. Now, he'll suspect that he forgot to take it or dropped it somewhere." Zhang Xiaobao shook his head regretfully. His hand passed over the edge of the envelope, and the envelope was neatly separated. Looking at the marks, it was obvious that it was cut by a sharp knife. Wang Wan still didn't touch the envelope. Instead, she grabbed Zhang Xiaobao's hand that had just cut the envelope. She opened his fingers and looked carefully. Then she looked up and asked doubtfully, "Where's the knife?" "I put it away." "How can a knife be seen casually?" "Don't look for it. It's in my sleeve. I'll show you the knife elsewhere." "Ah!" Zhang Xiaobao stopped Wang Wan's actions. He opened his mouth and his tongue moved inside. Two thin blades appeared beside his mouth. One was narrow and long, and the other was wide and short. Looking at the blades, Wang Wan nodded blankly. "When did you learn this?" "I learned it a long time ago, but I only stole from ordinary people twice. At that time, I was short of money and hungry, so I stole some to buy food. At that time, I found several masters, but it wasn't easy to practice. My hands and mouth were cut countless times. I can use my toes to play a few tricks. If you want to learn, I'll teach you." Zhang Xiaobao's tongue moved and the blades disappeared. It didn't affect his speech at all. Chapter 899. Zhang Xiaobao did not respond to Wang Wan's words. Instead, he took out the letter and read it. The words were written in the Tang language and not the Japanese language. If it was written, Zhang Xiaobao would not be able to understand it. Although he knew many languages, he could not really write them. Nowadays, when the Japanese spoke quickly, he could not even hear them clearly. Wang Wan was better than him, but she still could not write the current Japanese language. Furthermore, it was difficult for people outside the Tang to understand. This was also because the two of them had a good foundation. Together, they could cover half of the world's official language. If it were an ordinary person, they would be at a loss when they came. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao reading the letter, Wang Wan also came over and read it line by line. After reading it, she said, "It's nothing. It's just asking him to get in touch with the officials of the Ministry of Works and the Ministry of Rights and think of a way to rent our steam engine ships and gunships. It's very normal. It's abnormal because it's normal. Doesn't he know the benefits of those two ships? Why is there a need to emphasize it again? Furthermore, it's a message from someone else. What does this mean? Your superior is telling you the same thing twice. Don't you have to think about it carefully?" Zhang Xiaobao took the letter back and looked in the direction Takashita Junichiro left in. In the end, he did not chase after him and returned the letter. Wang Wan pulled Zhang Xiaobao along and continued shopping. As they walked, she said, "What else could it be? They want to secretly learn the technology and slowly develop it. When they have the strength, they will attack us. It's very normal. A nation that doesn't know how to learn has long disappeared. For a small place like Japan to not have been colonized before, it's really admirable." After hearing Wang Wan's words, Zhang Xiaobao thought about it and nodded. "Indeed, I also admire them. However, that doesn't mean that I won't deal with them. They can really endure. Just like now, in order to survive, they can throw away their dignity and character. They feel like wolves." Speaking of Japan, I can't help but think of Taiwan. I wonder if the natural scenery there is the same as ours. For example, the Sun-Moon Lake and the Jade Mountain clouds. We can develop them together and have the people of the Great Tang take a stroll. And the resources there are quite good, especially the aquatic resources. Yeah, I haven't been there in a long time. Do you really want to go? Then we should bring more gifts and let the local leaders or chiefs accept us wholeheartedly. Then we can slowly teach them how to read. Wang Wan also wanted to see what Taiwan was like now. She heard that some people went there to do business. In fact, they were exchanging things and taking advantage of others. Who asked the people there to be so bad? If they sent a porcelain jar or something, they could exchange it for a lot of pearls or mountain treasures. The locals had a hard time. Of course, this was in the eyes of outsiders. Perhaps the locals felt that it was not bad. People who had never seen a plane would never envy people who flew thousands of miles. As the two of them walked, they saw a shop selling clothes nearby. They followed the road and walked in. There were very few clothes on display. Most of them were bolts of cloth. If someone wanted to sell them, they could make a lot of them on the spot. Zhang Xiaobao absent-mindedly reached out and pinched the corner of a bolt of cloth. He turned his head and said to Wang Wan, "It's not bad to open a ready-made clothes shop there. The locals should like it, especially the canvas. It's durable and sturdy. It's not as strong as the local hemp or tree leaves. Then we can make money." Wang Wan first waved her hand at the shop assistant who wanted to come over and greet them, indicating that they did not need to care. Then, she thought about Zhang Xiaobao's words and said, "You want to use canvas to exchange for local things. There are fewer metal mines there. Don't tell me you want to cut down all the trees there. Otherwise, what are you going to exchange for? Whose money are you going to earn? What trees? I plan to build a few ports there in the future, as well as the buildings around the ports. I plan to keep the place in its original state. Who said that you have to exchange goods with them if you give them something? It can also be labor. Just like the ethnic minority areas in the future, there will be special programs to provide entertainment for others, and then make money and professionalize. The locals there can also do it. Let the tourists experience a different kind of ethnic customs, eat some local food, and enjoy the local scenery. If conditions permit, let the locals accompany them to hunt." Zhang Xiaobao's eyes were fixed on a certain place. In fact, he did not see what that place was at all. He was just distracted. While he was telling Wang Wan his ideas, he raised his other hand and gently tapped his face. Wang Wan was moved by Zhang Xiaobao's words. Just as she was about to support him, she suddenly remembered Zhang Xiaobao's thieving skills. In an instant, Zhang Xiaobao's image of an international swindler overlapped with that of Zhang Xiaobao's image. "Hubby." Wang Wan's voice changed. It was gentle and sweet, and Zhang Xiaobao trembled when he heard it. His distracted eyes regained focus, and he looked at Wang Wan in astonishment. "Hubby, tell me, did you cheat the officials like this back then? You made it sound like it was real." Wang Wan whispered into Zhang Xiaobao's ears. Ah. Zhang Xiaobao dodged to the side and whispered, "Are you accusing me?" "I won't admit it." "You don't have any evidence now." "TSK, do I need evidence to arrest you?" "It's easy to get evidence. First, we need to arrest you." "After we use a few drugs, you will naturally confess everything. What you said to me, are you also going to tell Li Longji?" Wang Wan leaned closer to Zhang Xiaobao and threatened. "How do you know that I am going to look for Li Longji?" Zhang Xiaobao was a little afraid. It was not comfortable to be understood by others. "I'm your wife. You were absent-minded and flicked my face. Who are you scheming against? You can't be scheming against those natives in Taiwan, right? They are not worth your effort. So, it's naturally Li Longji. What do you want to exchange with him?" Wang Wan was about to push Zhang Xiaobao against the wall, and she was still unwilling to let go. "Is Li Longji worth my effort? Then you are really looking down on me. I just remembered that Taiwan had been colonized by many countries. Every colonization was done with military force. I was thinking that it is time for us to talk about it." Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan's pretty face and really wanted to give her a kiss, but the shop assistant was looking at him with vigilant eyes. No matter how thick-skinned Zhang Xiaobao was, he was too embarrassed to do so. "You want to colonize Taiwan?" "Why would I want to colonize it? It is so close. When the time comes, there will naturally be people going there. There is no need for me to push it. You will know when I carry out the plan. Let's go into the palace and chat with Li Longji." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he pulled Wang Wan's hand and walked out. When he passed by the shop assistant, he asked, "Do you have pearl muslin?" "No, we can't get that kind of thing." "Why don't we look at Suzhou's muslin?" The shop assistant shook his head and replied, I don't want to look. I wanted to buy some pearl muslin. Let's go to the next shop." Zhang Xiaobao said regretfully and walked out with Wang Wan. The shop assistant behind them showed a look of disdain and muttered, "If you don't have money, just say so. Pearl muslin. Do you think you can afford it? You want to save face." When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan found Li Longji in Xingqing Palace, Li Longji was looking at a map with Wu Huifei and Empress Wang. To be precise, he was looking at a sand table that included all the places in the country. He pointed and talked as if everything was under his control. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei were full of admiration and echoed from time to time, which made Li Longji even more excited. Perhaps he deliberately said it to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan who had just arrived. Li Longji did not turn to look at them. Instead, he pointed at the sand table and said to Wu Huifei and Empress Wang, "Here, Lhasa City, is already the territory of the Tang Empire. It is connected to Longyu Road, which is connected to the original Turkic lands. Here, the northern part of Hebei Road, and an island in the sea, all belong to the Tang Empire now. However, if you continue to go west and north, it will be related to the Tang Empire. When will it be unified?" With a stroke of his hand, Li Longji marked out the territory of the Tang Empire. He straightened his back and said that it was the territory of the Tang Empire. When he talked about the places that had not been included in the territory, there was a hint of regret between his eyebrows. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei were not stupid. They knew that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were here. Just now, the emperor was talking about the local customs and customs of each place. Now, he changed the topic to the size of the territory. Obviously, he was talking about the territory for Zhang Xiaobao and Wu Huifei. Empress Wang spoke first. "Your Majesty wants to expand the territory, but you have to wait for the place to be stable first. The Longyu Road is different from the original Tubo Turks. The regional governor there is not very good at managing the local people. There is a trend of monopolization. Shouldn't you wait until the place is stable first? Wu Huifei said another thing, sister is right. However, didn't the Longyu Road give Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family a piece of land? Especially that lake. I think that it won't be long before your majesty is relieved. It is precisely because of this that we should take this opportunity to continue fighting for territory. In one spurt of energy, the second decline, and the third decline. When Zhang Xiaobao saw this, he pulled Wang Wan and walked outside. Both the west and north sides were not easy to fight. How could they adapt to the climate just like that? Xiaobao, Cuckoo, when did the two of you arrive? How could we not know? Where are you going? Before Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had taken 5 steps, Li Longji's voice sounded. Zhang Xiaobao stopped, turned around, and said to Li Longji, "This subject listened to your majesty's thoughts just now and is willing to share your majesty's worries. We are going to prepare provisions, cross the vast snowy mountains, and step onto the snowy plains. We are going to spread your majesty's grace to the locals. Your majesty can issue an edict to recruit Tang men between the ages of 15 and 50 to form an army. This subject estimates that we will be able to fulfill your majesty's long-cherished wish by sacrificing 2/3 of our men." Ah! There is no need for that. We are in no hurry, no hurry. It is best to defend ourselves first. Xiaobao, why have the two of you come? When Li Longji heard that 2/3 of his men would die, he immediately changed his words. It's nothing major. This subject wishes to occupy several islands in the southeast. I don't want your majesty to not have such ambitions. It is best to think about the northwest. Chapter 900. Zhang Xiaobao seemed relaxed, but Li Longji was not. The so-called islands included Xinlua and Japan. From the moment these two places were discovered, there was not a single emperor who did not want to conquer them. However, even if they fought, they had defeated Xinlua and Japan. In the end, they were unable to send people to occupy them. This was especially true of Nippon. They could only threaten and intimidate when they were strong, but they could not rule. If it were anyone else, Li Longji would have slapped them in the face and said that they were just making fun of him. However, when these words came out of Zhang Xiaobao's mouth, it was a different matter. Xiaobao, there's no hurry. The northwest is remote and cold. Let's talk about the southeast first. Do you want to let Cuckoo lead the army and attack it? Li Longji knew that once the two countries were settled, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would no longer have to worry about the northern part of Hebei province. They would enter the capital and be placed in the most worrying place. Unfortunately, the great Tang only had these two people. He could trust them. He did not have to worry about not being able to govern the place well, and he did not have to worry about being attacked by the tribes and countries on the other side of the border. He believed that if these two were sent to Longyu province, the people there would immediately be stable, and the man-eaters would not be able to continue their plans. Therefore, Li Longji wanted the southeast coast to be stabilized quickly so that he could have less worries. He stared at Zhang Xiaobao, waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to come up with a feasible plan. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head vigorously. Your Majesty, it's still too early. This subject is just saying. If Silla wants to quickly take back Great Tang, we can let Cuckoo fight. At that time, they will have no national strength, and they will definitely be willing to submit to us. As for Nippon, to tell the truth, if they did not still have evil intentions, would not be willing to touch them. The terrain there was complicated, and the people there were valiant and courageous. Even the 10,000 cavalry battalion would not be able to do anything there, let alone an ordinary army. That was unless I mobilized a large number of Lu Zhou's wolf soldiers. They were both short and fit for mountainous terrain. They liked to jump and attack when they attacked. They were also skilled in the water and were fearless of death. I'll equip them with better weapons, so they definitely won't have a problem one-on-one. But right now, we haven't reached the point where we can decide life and death in a single battle. Let's take it slow. First, we'll weaken their will, then cut off their courage. 3 years, give me 3 years, and I'll be able to make them obedient. As he spoke, Zhang Xiaobao glanced at Wu Huifei. His meaning was obvious. Would anyone leak the secret? Li Longji hurriedly added, "All right, that's exactly what I want. This matter will definitely not be leaked." Wu Huifei nodded as well. It was not that she did not want to leak the secret, but she was afraid that Zhang Xiaobao would deliberately say it and set a trap for her. When facing Zhang Xiaobao, she knew that anything could happen. She must not take his words seriously. Then, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Oh, Your Majesty, I suddenly remembered something. There are many merchants coming to Liuqiu Island from the east of Jiangnan. I'd like to ask for an edict so that I can confer titles on the island. After Zhang Xiaobao finished talking about the matter in Japan, he was about to leave. However, before he turned around, he seemed to have suddenly thought of something and casually mentioned it. Li Longji had long been used to Zhang Xiaobao's way of speaking. He knew that Zhang Xiaobao would never say anything useless. When he heard Zhang Xiaobao mention Liuqiu, he thought that the island was not under the jurisdiction of the Great Tang. The Great Tang was unable to send officials to the island. If Zhang Xiaobao could help, it would be a good idea. Thus, he nodded. I'll send someone to deliver it to you at night. Remember, don't put yourself in danger. If there is income, use it to build roads in the east of Jiangnan. Li Longji did not believe that Zhang Xiaobao would only invest money without any income. He wanted to collect taxes, but he had earned money on the island. It was not easy to find an excuse. In the end, he could only symbolically say one sentence. Your Majesty, please rest assured. As long as there is income, I will definitely take out a portion to build roads in the east of Jiangnan. I will build roads and houses. Zhang Xiaobao agreed. Then, he turned around and followed Wang Wan back. Li Longji stood where he was. He could not figure out what Zhang Xiaobao wanted to do. He turned to Gao Lisher and asked, Lisher, haven't Xiaobao and Cuckoo been using the name of the Great Tang to do things? Why are they asking for power now? I don't know. I think it might be useful. Gao Lisher was also puzzled. Back then, they had agreed that Zhang Xiaobao and the Wang family could use the name of the Great Tang to do things outside of the Great Tang. For example, they could give someone an official or conduct a friendly interview. When the time came, the Great Tang would acknowledge everything. Li Longji's head hurt from thinking, but he still could not figure it out. He turned around and said to Empress Wang and Wu Huifei, I'll tell you about the coastal area in the southeast of the Great Tang. Within 3 years, this place and this place will all be part of the Great Tang's territory. After leaving, Wang Wan pulled Zhang Xiaobao and asked, You promised Li Longji to build roads and houses. Can you really earn money on Taiwan? When the time comes and you say that you didn't earn anything, do you think anyone will believe you? You are Zhang Xiaobao. How can I not earn money? The money I earned is not the money of the people on the island, but the money of the Great Tang people who came later. I'm a man of my word. I won't keep a single cent. I'll invest as much as I earn into the Jiangnan East Road. Zhang Xiaobao looked like a man of his word, treating money like dirt. Really? For free? Wang Wan asked again. I'll take everything. First, I have to build a dike in Hangzhou. There isn't one now. After that, I have to build roads so that it's convenient for people to go there. After that, I have to build houses, hotels, restaurants, and so on. I'll do good for the people and give tourists a place to go. Zhang Xiaobao continued. Wang Wan understood now. Zhang Xiaobao was using the money he earned on the island to build West Lake in Hangzhou. West Lake was the lake that he had gifted to her. It had nothing to do with doing good for the people. He was just transferring money from his left hand to his right hand. At least he had fulfilled his promise to Li Longji. You're not willing to lose out at all. Even if it's just a little bit of money, you still have to calculate with Li Longji, Wang Wan said helplessly. How is this calculating? I did invest in the Jiangnan East Road, and I did use this money to build West Lake. How can I not pay the taxes to West Lake to Li Longji? There's no difference. There's no difference at all. Zhang Xiaobao appeared to be very innocent. There's a big difference. If you invest the money in West Lake, you will incur various taxes when you invest it. But if you invest the money in the island, you don't have to pay taxes there. You don't have to pay taxes there, and the people who work there don't have to pay taxes there. When West Lake is built, you will be earning money from both sides. Furthermore, the money you earned on the island is used to build West Lake in the name of charity. This will also reduce the taxes. Don't think that I don't know about this. Let me think about it. It's definitely not that simple. Oh. I understand now. When the time comes, you will immediately use the island's name to set up a tour group. Even if you don't go to the island now, you still have such a project. Because the island doesn't belong to Tang dynasty, you can lower the price of the tourists and increase the amount of money you spend on the island. Or you can lower the price of the tourists and increase the amount of money you spend on the island. This way, you will have to pay less taxes for the projects you are supposed to pay, and your actual income will be listed on the tax-free island. Do you know what kind of behavior is this? Wang Wan continued thinking and finally found the problem. Zhang Xiaobao is trying to find a loophole to evade taxes. Oh, it's called reasonable tax avoidance. Li Longji doesn't know what's going on, and he still foolishly agreed to it. What behavior? I haven't done anything yet. You are the only one thinking about it. Why would I do such a thing? If I really want to avoid taxes, I just need to use the products around MDTI as our own brand and get MDTI to issue a certificate. The cost of the products around MDTI will increase, and the taxes will decrease. How much do you think I can reduce by doing this? During the off-season, I will ask our logistics company to help transport the goods and then find a reason to increase the price of the goods. I will use the tourism company to transfer money to the logistics company. How much do you think I can reduce by? Zhang Xiaobao said one by one. Wang Wan kept nodding and finally said, yes, there are many ways. If you really want to do it, I can do it without you. What are you trying to do? Do you know you misunderstood me? Zhang Xiaobao asked. Wang Wan nodded embarrassedly. Do you know I'm not doing it for money? Zhang Xiaobao asked again. Wang Wan lowered her head even more. Do you know what it means to have the heart of a villain? Who are you calling a villain? You said it clearly. This time, before Zhang Xiaobao could finish, Wang Wan, who had already raised her head, couldn't take it anymore. I said to have the heart of a villain to do the work of an adult. A villain is a villain. What did I say just now? Oh. Yes, you asked me what I want to do, so I'll say it now. I want others to see this and help us solve some problems. We can't do everything ourselves. Come on, let's go home. I'll tell you the story of the big bad wolf and the little white rabbit. Zhang Xiaobao smiled very gently. As he explained, he pulled Wang Wan and walked faster. You're the only one who can say that. You're the little white rabbit. Yes, I'm the little white rabbit. You're the big bad wolf. It's all the same. Chapter 901. Shueyun and Hong Wan having a baby was a big deal for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. It was no less important than a pregnant woman giving birth to a baby. The smart Shueyun didn't look for a cliff or stay in Jili province. Instead, it brought its wife Hong Wan to the capital city of Chang and to ask for help from its master. Moreover, it decided on Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. It didn't know how it figured it out, but it knew that in this house, two people's words were the most effective. When Zhang Xiaobao and Zhang Ying were discussing what kind of house to build, it flew to the eaves in front of them, watching and listening. Zhang Xiaobao looked up at Shueyun. He didn't care about how it flew over the cloth curtain. He believed that Shueyun, who could cooperate with people, had the ability to shuttle at low altitude. What he needed to consider now was what kind of house to build for Shueyun and Hong Wan and how high it should be. Where should we choose? The East Market and the West Market can't do. It's too noisy. Xingqing Palace. Then Li Longji will have to go there. Hibiscus Garden. There are songs and music. This kind of music doesn't seem to be suitable for prenatal education, right? Zhang Xiaobao grumbled, but he still couldn't make up his mind. Not only were Zhang Ying and Wang Wan anxious, even Shueyun on the eaves was impatient. She called out twice, as if urging him to make a decision. I know you love your wife, just like me. Don't worry. Even if the East Market and the West Market stop, I'll build a good house for you. At most, I'll pay to move one of the East Market and the West Market. We have money. For the sake of your baby, I'll go all out. I don't believe that I can't build a decent house. Zhang Xiaobao said to Shueyun boldly. Surprisingly, Shueyun nodded, which made Zhang Xiaobao open his mouth in surprise. Okay, with your nod, even if you take your wife to Hanyuan Palace to lay eggs, I'll help you ruin the morning court. Don't talk nonsense. Do you think you're human? You want to go to Hanyuan Palace Hall? Aren't you afraid that Shueyun's family will be cooked and eaten? Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. What's wrong with going to Hanyuan Palace Hall? Do you know how many contributions Shueyun has made? It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he's the #1 eagle of the great Tang. Let's go to the artificial lake and build a 10-zhang tall house. When the little eagles learn to fly, we can lay a cushion in the lake or arrange for people to rescue them. Our little eagles are a little stupid at first, so we don't have to worry about that. We can try again and again, and eventually they will learn to fly. It's settled then. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he suddenly thought of a good place, the artificial saltwater lake that he had prepared for Li Longji. Thinking that it was a good idea, he waved his hand at Shueyun, who was waiting for him. Let's go. Work on the artificial lake. You go and scout ahead. With a confused look in her eyes, Shueyun flapped her wings and prepared to land on Zhang Xiaobao. Wait! Zhang Xiaobao shouted. He took the leather cushion from Zhang Xiaobao's body and put it on his shoulder. He snapped his fingers and waved his hand again. Come up. Kill the chicken. Don't mock the Japanese. What nonsense are you talking about? Wang Wan smiled and patted Zhang Xiaobao twice. Shueyun didn't care about anything else. She spread her wings and made a short hover in the air before landing on Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder. She tilted her head and looked away from Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't have time to rest. They galloped straight for the lake. In the distance behind them, there was a group of people with various tools. Such a trip naturally couldn't be hidden from the spies who had been paying attention to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Therefore, those who heard the news were curious, and there were many who went to investigate. There were even businessmen who thought that Zhang Xiaobao had thought of something to make money again. After asking, they hurriedly chased after him, wanting to get involved. Even Takashita Junichiro, who had lost something, didn't have time to continue looking for the letter that he didn't know where it was. He casually packed up and also headed in the direction that Zhang Xiaobao and the others might have gone. The person who paid the most attention to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan was naturally Li Longji. When he heard the news, he didn't think that the two were bored enough to ride horses on the street. He directly ordered people to inquire about the reason. When he found out that Xue Yun, who had made great contributions on the battlefield in Tubo, and the equally rare Big Red Eagle, were raising children, Li Longji couldn't sit still anymore. I have heard that Xue Yun is a sentient creature. Since it chose the Red Luan, I think that the Red Luan wouldn't be too bad. The eagle born of the two wouldn't be any weaker than Xue Yun. Strong men, draft an imperial decree. Xue Yun has made great contributions, but it doesn't deserve any rewards. It is to my liking. Therefore, I confer Xue Yun the title of Sky Blue General of our dynasty. Li Longji thought about it and then instructed Gao Lisher. Your Majesty, our dynasty has a Sky Blue General. Gao Lisher had never heard of this name and asked in surprise. Isn't that Xue Yun? Oh, there's also the Red Luan. Confer a title of 5th rank noble lady. Bestow 100 live lambs. Bestow 100 calves. Bestow them on farmland. Bestow 20 deer and 1,000 chickens to feed the chicks. In order to have a chance to get 2 chicks, Li Longji casually gave an official title of none. He didn't care whether Xue Yun could wear the silver fish pouch or not. When Gao Lisher heard this absurd conferment, he didn't know how to respond. He hesitated for a long time until Li Longji was a little impatient. Only then did he say, Your Majesty, I'm afraid that some officials won't accept such a conferment. Xue Yun is a beast. It won't be good if the officials object. What's wrong with a beast? A beast can look down on a flock of eagles in the sky of Tubo. A beast can discover the enemy first. A beast can transmit information back and forth accurately. A beast is also loyal and devoted. In my opinion, this kind of beast is better than many people. It's strange. Why do all the good things go to their home? I've already made up my mind. If there's anyone who isn't convinced, fly to the snow mountain for me to take a look. Go, send soldiers to take turns guarding Xue Yun and the Red Luan's nests. Don't allow others to approach, and don't allow anyone to bring crossbows over. Li Longji was very fond of Xue Yun. If it weren't for the fact that it belonged to the Zhang family and the Wang family, and that this kind of eagle had its own pride, he would have used all kinds of methods to get it to play with. Now that he had a chance to get its children, if he didn't act now, it would be too late to regret it in the future. Gao Lisher thought about Xue Yun's contributions and then considered the fact that it was his godsons. In the end, he agreed. Yes, this subject will arrange it right away. However, this subject has heard that there won't be many left in a nest of eagles. This subject is afraid that Xiao Bao won't allow it. Ask Xiao Bao about this. Others may not have a solution, but Xiao Bao will definitely be able to come up with an idea. I don't believe that he won't make any arrangements. Li Longji cleverly pushed the problem to Zhang Xiaobao. When Zhang Xiaobao arrived at the lakeside and began to ask people to set up the framework, the people who were paying attention to him finally figured out what he was going to do. Some people left in disappointment, while others were calculating whether they could get an eagle to hunt. The members of the imperial clan who hadn't found a chance to sabotage also sent letters one after another, wanting to gather together to discuss whether they should kill Shui Yun and the Red Luan to deal a blow to Zhang Xiaobao. However, before they could finish transmitting the news, an imperial edict from the palace shocked them. A feathered beast was actually conferred the title of a fifth-ranked general, and the Red Luan was conferred the title of a noble lady. Could it be that killing an eagle was the same crime as killing an official? Look, Shui Yun, look, I've conferred you the title of an official. You and the Red Luan have to work hard and give birth to 180 children. I'll help you raise them. Isn't that a good idea? Zhang Xiaobao took the imperial edict sent by Li Longji and told Shui Yun. According to tradition, Li Longji wasn't given an official's robe, nor was he given a silver fish pouch. However, sheep and deer could be given one. At this time, the framework built for Shui Yun and the Red Luan was already 5 zhang tall. Zhang Xiaobao gestured and asked. Shui Yun didn't know what an official was, but she understood what Zhang Xiaobao meant by the height problem. She tilted her head to take a look, then turned her head away and didn't look anymore. Zhang Xiaobao was good at psychology, but he couldn't guess what Shui Yun was thinking. After pondering for a while, he tentatively asked, "Short?" "Yes, it's a little short, and it's easy for people to touch it." "Let's make it taller. Add another 2 zhang. Don't move the wood anymore. It's too thin." After Zhang Xiaobao finished talking to Shui Yun, he continued to order the construction workers to work. The wood was put up one by one, and carts of wood were transported. Because the height was too high, they built it in the shape of a pyramid. At this time, the hot air balloon in the sky came in handy. Soon, the height of 5 zhang became 7 zhang. Wang Wan rushed to ask Shui Yun, "Look, is it enough now?" Shui Yun looked again and still turned her head. "Continue to build it higher." In order for the baby eagle to be born smoothly, Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about this little bit of wood. "Young Master Zhang, congratulations, congratulations. The eagle in our family is going to have an heir." Because Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't ask anyone to stop others from coming over, they were relatively lax at the scene. A person dressed like a businessman came up to congratulate them. The so-called businessman's outfit was that there was an extra pocket on the chest area of the clothes, which was used to put fountain pens. Because there was no plastic, it was very troublesome to make, so the fountain pens were very expensive. Usually, Xiaobei and the others would bring them for temporary writing and drawing when the pencil was broken and hard to sharpen. No one knew who saw it first, but they insisted on buying it from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Regardless of whether they knew how to use it or not, having a fountain pen was a symbol of status. It was said to be used for bookkeeping, so it became a professional outfit for businessmen. Zhang Xiaobao was indeed looking forward to it. Seeing someone say good things, he hurriedly looked at him and also cupped his fists in return. Thank you, thank you. May I know what's your position?" "Young Master Zhang, you must be joking. It's just a small business to make a living. I run a Shannon fur trading company. I collect some furs, tanning, processing, and sell them." The businessman's voice was very soft, as if he was afraid of being looked down upon. Zhang Xiaobao pondered for a moment and said, "Shannon Huxiao for Manufacturing and Marketing Group, right? So you're young Master Fong." "Young Master Fong, you're too modest. In the first quarter of this spring, your group paid 6 million yuan in taxes. If you think the business is too small, then there's no such thing as a big business in the world. The businessman was shocked by Zhang Xiaobao's words and looked at Zhang Xiaobao in surprise, as if wondering how Zhang Xiaobao knew so much. Chapter 902. When the businessman surnamed Fong heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, his first reaction was not to ask Zhang Xiaobao, but to look around nervously. Seeing that there were no outsiders nearby, he lowered his voice and said, "Young Master Zhang, do you have time later? I would like to invite young Master Zhang and his wife to eat something in a secluded place." Looking at the other party's overreaction, Zhang Xiaobao and Wei Wei shook their head. "I don't have time. I still have to build a house for Xu Weiyun and her husband, so I'll skip the meal." "Do you want to make money?" "Yes, very much. Young Master Zhang is busy and takes care of a lot of things every day, but there are too many people around. If someone with bad intentions knows, then..." Fong Dongjia was clear in his heart. Although Zhang Xiaobao just praised him for paying a lot of taxes and said that his Shannon Tiger Skin manufacturing and marketing group was big, but compared to other people's business, it was not enough. What was 6 million? It was only 60,000 strings of cash. How big could the group be? The taxes that other people paid in a quarter could buy several groups of his own. It was very difficult to invite Zhang Xiaobao to eat a meal. It was not enough to just have a little money. There were many people richer than him. If he invited all of them, Zhang Xiaobao would not need to do anything else but accompany him to eat every day. But Fong Dongjia did not want to share with others, so it was very difficult for him. Zhang Xiaobao sighed and said to Fong Dongjia, "Fong Dongjia, you can't eat by yourself. After listening today, if you have any friends in the business world, you can contact them. Don't worry, I won't lie to you." "Ah. Big business." Fong Dongjia was stunned, then suddenly understood. Yes, unless young Master Zhang doesn't do it, it will naturally not be a small business. "Young Master Zhang, don't misunderstand. I didn't say that you lied to me. I still know you. My business is not harmful, and you won't attack me. Can you tell me in detail?" Fong Dongjia couldn't imagine how big of a storm Zhang Xiaobao would stir up this time. The only thing he knew was that Zhang Xiaobao wouldn't make a move against him. He still understood Zhang Xiaobao's style of doing things very well. Whether it was a merchant of the Great Tang or an outsider, as long as they did business in the Great Tang, it was fine to buy at a low price and sell at a high price. It was also fine if there was a shortage of goods in a place that were not for the livelihood of the people, but it was forbidden to deliberately interfere. If one didn't speculate in goods related to the livelihood of the people, he wouldn't care, but if one really did, one could only wait to go bankrupt. Some people hated him, some loved him. They hated him for being a busybody, but they loved him for having a high moral character. There were even more worshippers who worshipped him as a godlike existence in the business world. Thinking of this, Fong Dongjia recalled what he had done and found that he had not crossed Zhang Xiaobao's bottom line. Thus, he was not afraid. He just wanted to know how much money he had invested and how much he had earned. As the two of them approached each other and whispered, the gazes of those who were slightly further away immediately swept over. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao, they couldn't see anything, but seeing Fong Dongjia's expression, they knew that something good had happened. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care if others could hear them. It was best if more people were eavesdropping, whether it was a friendly party or someone who secretly wanted to deal with him. It didn't matter. He wasn't afraid that someone would do something bad. Whoever dared to do it would come. Thus, Zhang Xiaobao's voice was slightly louder, but the penetrating power was stronger. Fong Dongjia, do you know that there is an island in the Great Tang that is sought by famous people? I know. Is my leather goods seller going to sell there? Fong Dongjia didn't understand. You can buy furs on the island. Besides animal furs, there is also fish furs. You can also directly invest money in it. After a year, when there is a profit, contact your friends and cooperate with them. It is guaranteed that you will make a profit and not lose money. If I wasn't worried about causing too much of a stir, I would just give a call and the merchants of the Great Tang would probably start fighting. Zhang Xiaobao pointed to the east where there was a sea and said to Fong Dongjia. Fong Dongjia heard Zhang Xiaobao's voice and was secretly distressed. The people nearby must have heard it. For a moment, he was anxious and helpless. Young Master Zhang, how much is it? The initial investment is 5 million strings of cash. Can Fong Dongjia handle it alone? Zhang Xiaobao emphasized the 5 million strings of cash. When the people nearby heard this, their eyes widened at almost the same time. Takashita Junichiro, who had just arrived, also pricked up his ears. What a large amount. Just the initial investment was 5 million strings of cash. Fong Dongjia shook his head vigorously. I can't handle it, but I can find someone to raise it. Can young Master Zhang tell me more about it? I can't. There are too many details. If you believe me, take the money. If you don't, stay away. Zhang Xiaobao showed an unhappy expression. He turned his head to look at the house built for Shui Yun and her husband. The house was being built to a height of 10 zhang. He didn't know what height Shui Yun had in mind. I believe you. I'll go find someone to discuss it. If the money isn't enough, young Master Zhang, when you find someone else, you must bring me along. Fong Dongjia knew that he had misspoken. After explaining, he didn't dare to disturb Zhang Xiaobao. He lowered his head and walked out in large strides. Takashita Junichiro looked at Zhang Xiaobao and then glanced at the house. After a moment of consideration, he chased after Fong Dongjia. Zhang Xiaobao glanced sideways at Takashita Junichiro's back and shook his head. He said to Wang Wan, who was looking over, I thought it would take a lot of effort. I was worried about how to get him to fall into the trap. I didn't expect him to come in by himself. You won't blame me, right? Is there a difference? Your purpose is to get him in. Whether he takes the initiative or not, don't act so innocent while scheming. Shui Yun, is that okay? Wang Wan said a few words to Zhang Xiaobao with a smile. She turned around and asked Shui Yun, who was waiting for her new home. Shui Yun didn't answer directly. Instead, she flapped her wings and gradually flew away. After a while, 2 different eagle cries came from the sky. The Shui Yun couple, one red and one white, appeared under the cloth of the hot air balloon. They circled around the shelf a few times and both landed in front of Zhang Xiaobao. Shui Yun nodded. Oh. I understand. Zhang Xiaobao also nodded. Shui Yun, I don't want to criticize you, but it's wrong to be afraid of your wife. Is the height of the house enough? Can't you just say a word? You have to discuss it with your wife. It's too embarrassing for a man. You must have the final say on important matters. You can't be spoiled. Shui Yun was fine with simple words, but after Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, Shui Yun was confused. I love to hear my husband's words the most, husband. Tell this concubine, what is a big matter? Wang Wan, who was at the side, held Xiaobao's arm and asked in a sweet voice. The important matter is when I let the second son come out. Okay, this is the height. Reinforce the bottom. Don't let the wind blow it down and hurt the children. I'll only ask you. Zhang Xiaobao puffed out his chest and answered Wang Wan boldly. Then, he directed the construction team again. After he was done talking about the construction team, Zhang Xiaobao turned to Shu Yun and said, "Ask your wife what kind of straw to use as a nest. If she thinks straw is hard, then there's also cotton. Someone, bring all the things we prepared here and let Shu Yun choose." You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.